It's no accident that this book has found its way to you. It is part of a grand universal design meant to help you receive guidance from infinite wisdom. Allow yourself to relax and be open to this guidance, and your life can begin to transform from this very moment. Introduction guidance from infinite wisdom to you, my fellow traveler on the soul's infinite journey. Perhaps it is no accident that these words have found their way to you like a whisper from the unseen realm, a gentle call amidst the distractions and clamor of everyday life. Pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and feel. Something sacred awaits revelation and ancient truth stirring from the depths within you. You have sought answers in the world outside, haven't you? Believed that strength, happiness, and fulfillment were treasures hidden somewhere on a distant horizon to be won through ceaseless effort. But what if I told you that the greatest compass, the most precious map, and the master key to creating the reality you yearn for were never truly lost? That it rests dormant right here within the silent sanctuary of your knowing mind, a hallowed space concealed behind the usual waves of thought. This is not a journey to learn a new skill or adopt a foreign dogma. No, this is a homecoming, a remembering, a reclaiming of a sacred heritage obscured by the dust of self-imposed limitations and the illusions we mistake for reality. The universe does not respond to hollow affirmations or fleeting desires uttered by a turbulent mind. It interacts, it co-creates with a deeper level of awareness, with the vibration emanating from the serene, knowing stillness of mind where no trace of doubt or shadow of fear remains. Imagine your mind not as a noisy ruler, but as an erudite gatekeeper standing between the visible and the invisible realms. When the surface of the mind calms, when the ripples of anxiety and analysis dissolve, the gateway to the fount of creation swings open. It is in that stillness where all is clear, without words, that you will touch an extraordinary power, the ability to transform the subtlest intentions into vivid, lived experiences. This creative force, my friend, is as present as the radiant sun each morning. It does not need your belief in its existence to shine. It simply is. Our task is to draw back the clouds of ignorance, Vietnamese vo minh, the veils of limiting beliefs, to awaken to its magnificent presence. This is a revelation, a making apparent of what has always been there by gently removing the shackles of illusion. When illusion dissolves, true power arises. When limitations are released, your infinitude will shine forth. This book does not offer you answers from without. It offers you a mirror to reflect your own inner truth. It is an invitation to embark upon the greatest journey of discovery, the journey into yourself, to reclaim your forgotten power, to grasp the universal key that has always been yours. For you are not merely a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop. And the journey to awaken your true self, your authentic being, begins in this very moment. Part 1. Awakening from the Illusion. Chapter 1. Stop thrashing, be the ocean. In the quiet of a late afternoon, as the soft golden light of dusk filters through the leaves, there lies a truth often forgotten. A simple reality we, in our relentless pursuit, tend to overlook. It is the story of manifestation, not as a battle to be won, but as a dance of harmony and allowing of the flow from within. Henry was a kind man, his heart always yearning for better things in his life. He dreamed of a flourishing career, a more stable financial source enough to care for his family and fulfill his cherished aspirations. He had read countless books on the law of attraction, attended seminars, practiced affirmations every morning, written his prayers on paper, and posted them everywhere. Each day, Henry dedicated hours to manifestation rituals, trying to emit positive frequencies, hoping the universe would respond. Outwardly, he appeared optimistic, but deep inside, a bitter chasm of lack and quiet desperation grew steadily. He saw others achieving what they wanted and wondered, Why not me? I've done everything I was taught. His dedication gradually turned into a burden. His positivity felt forced and exhaustion began to creep in. This is the paradox of misguided effort. Mechanical doing rituals, affirmations without an inner shift in consciousness and feeling renders all external efforts like building castles on sand. The harder Henry tried, the further he felt from his goals. The opportunities he longed for seemed to elude him. The doors he knocked on remained stubbornly closed. The struggle to manifest, stemming from a mindset of lack and desperation, however skillfully masked by a veneer of positivity, was itself the greatest barrier. He didn't realize that the energy of striving, of the fear that he wasn't enough, wasn't worthy, was inadvertently reinforcing the separation between him and what he desired. One afternoon, after a long stretch of exhausting, fruitless rituals, Henry felt utterly defeated. He wandered to a quiet park and sat down beside a still lake. He no longer tried to affirm, no longer pleaded or demanded. He just sat there, exhausted and empty, watching the gentle ripples on the water's surface as a light breeze passed. The stillness of the lake seemed to whisper to him. It didn't try to be still, it simply was still, and when disturbed it naturally returned to its inherent tranquility. A sudden realization flashed through Henry's mind, not as a structured thought, but as a self-evident truth just unveiled. All his efforts of doing, the rituals, the mechanical affirmations, were like him deliberately stirring the lake's surface and then desperately trying to make it calm again, only creating more ripples. He recognized that the positivity he had tried to wear was just a flimsy mask concealing a deep-seated fear of lack, of not being good enough, not being worthy. It was this inner state of anxiety and desperation, not the hollow affirmations, that he was truly broadcasting to the universe. And the universe, like a giant mirror, had reflected that precisely. It wasn't forgetting or punishing him, it was simply showing him what reigned within him. When Henry approached the universe with desperation cloaked in diligence, he unwittingly declared his separation, and that very declaration became his reality. In that moment, a gentle feeling of release spread throughout Henry's body. He was no longer fighting. He was no longer trying to pull anything towards himself. He simply was accepting the emptiness, accepting even the weariness. He suddenly understood the illusion of separation, like a madman searching for eyeglasses perched on his own nose, or as a sage once said, "You are drowning in the ocean because you do not realize you are the ocean." The abundance, the resources he sought, were not far away. They were a part of him, or rather, he was a part of them. The struggle arose from the illusion that we are separate from that life source. When Henry returned home, he no longer performed his rituals as before. Instead, he began to focus on the small joys of the present, on gratitude for what he had, however little. He found peace in accepting reality rather than desperately trying to bend it to his will. He started to act from a place of quiet trust, a silent certainty from within. A few weeks later, an old friend he hadn't seen in a long time unexpectedly contacted him, bringing an opportunity to collaborate on a project Henry had always secretly loved, a field where he had genuine talent but had never dared to pursue due to fear of failure. The opportunity came naturally, without force, like a river finding its way to the sea. It wasn't the result of striving, but the reflection of a changed inner state, a shift from struggle to resonance. The story of Sarah, a talented pianist, offers another perspective on the same truth. Sarah was facing a daunting creative drought. The melodies that once flowed effortlessly within her now seemed dry. The pressure of upcoming concerts and everyone's expectations weighed heavily on her. She spent hours at the piano trying to force herself to write notes, but all that emerged were disjointed, lifeless sounds. Disappointment and self-doubt began to gnaw at her. She wondered if inspiration had truly abandoned her forever. Like Henry, Sarah was struggling, trying to get something from the outside, in this case, inspiration, without realizing she was creating her own obstacles. One day, exhausted by her futile efforts, Sarah left her piano and went for a walk in an old botanical garden. She sat beneath an ancient tree, listening to the wind rustling through the leaves, the cheerful chirping of birds. Not trying to find anything, she simply was there, immersing herself in the stillness and beauty of nature. She observed a rose slowly unfurling its petals, without any effort, simply blossoming in its natural beauty. It was then she realized that creativity like that rose could not be forced. It is a natural flow from within, an expression of being itself. She had been so focused on doing, trying to write music, that she had forgotten being an artist, a conduit for beauty to flow. When Sarah returned, she didn't sit at the piano with the pressure to compose. She just lightly touched the keys, allowing her feelings to guide her. And then the melodies began to sing, at first tentative, then gradually growing stronger, richer, imbued with a new depth she hadn't touched before. Her music was no longer a product of struggle, but the voice of a soul that had found its harmony. The universe didn't respond to her desperate pleas or efforts to have melodies. It resonated when she became the melody itself. Both Henry and Sarah discovered a fundamental universal law. We don't manifest what we want through struggle. We manifest who we are. The struggle, even if disguised by positive actions, if it stems from a mindset of lack and fear, will only generate more energy of lack and reinforce the separation from what we desire. The universe doesn't respond to striving or desperation. It precisely mirrors our inner state and resonates with harmony from within. Instead of trying to pull something from the outside, the real change lies in perception, in recognizing that the resources, the abundance, the joy, or the creativity we seek are already a part of us, or rather, we are a part of them. It's no longer a battle against reality, but an allowing of reality to flow through you, to be expressed through you. Shift the focus from trying to achieve to being and allowing, to help you not only understand but also apply this law in your life. There is an ancient practice, stillness like water. Practice stillness like water. Find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for about 10 to 15 minutes. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, or gaze softly downward. Bring your attention to your breath. Feel the air moving in and out. Don't try to control your breath. Simply observe it. Now imagine your mind and the energies within you as the surface of a lake. There might be thoughts, emotions, feelings of unease, or an urgent energy wanting to reach out, grasp, struggle. Do not try to suppress these ripples. Do not judge them. Simply witness them as you would observe ripples on a lake. Acknowledge their presence without identifying with them. As you continue to observe in quiet, non-judgmental awareness, you will notice that these striving energies, these ripples, will gradually settle on their own. The lake of your inner being will grow calmer, reflecting the quiet certainty from deep within. Practicing this exercise regularly will help you recognize and transform these striving energies from within. When you set a goal or desire something in life, pause and check from what state are you acting. Lack, fear, or trust, abundance. Pay attention to who you are being in the process, rather than just focusing on what to do. Contemplate your deep connection with the universe, with the boundless creative source, instead of feeling like a small separate entity trying to struggle and grasp. Because you don't need to thrash in the ocean when you realize that you are the ocean. Chapter 2. The key has always been within. Continuing the flow of awareness from the previous chapter, let us journey deeper into a truth that often lies dormant. The source of strength, abundance, and every quality you seek in the outer world actually exists as an innate force, an infinite treasure residing right within you. The relentless search, the sense of emptiness that many of us experience, only truly ceases when we gently shift our gaze from chasing shimmering external reflections to recognizing and awakening this eternal wellspring within ourselves. Eleanor was a paragon of success by all conventional standards. She had an admirable career, a comfortable home, and seemingly fulfilling relationships. Friends looked upon her with admiration, and her family was proud of her achievements. Yet amidst the lavish parties, the accolades, and the expensive possessions, Eleanor still felt a nameless emptiness creeping into her soul. This hollowness behind the glamorous facade served as a silent reminder that external accomplishments, relationships, or material possessions, no matter how dazzling, could only offer fleeting joy and could never fill the inner void if a true connection with oneself was missing. She tried to find solace in luxurious travels, new self-development courses, or even more romantic relationships. But the feeling of lack smoldered like an undercurrent. Eleanor didn't realize that, like Henry and Sarah in the previous chapter, she was looking outside herself for something that was already an intrinsic part of her. The external world once again acted as a mirror to her internal state. What we experience, the people we meet, the circumstances we face, is merely a reflection of our inner reality. From a very early age, we are unconsciously programmed to seek power, recognition, love, and fulfillment from these reflections rather than returning to the source of light within. Eleanor was trying to polish the mirror to change the reflected images, unaware that the original image, her inner world, was what truly needed tending. One night, after a long day of fruitless efforts to find joy, Eleanor fell into a strange dream. In it, she found herself wandering through a dark labyrinth, desperately seeking an exit. Suddenly, a gentle, luminous figure appeared before her. The figure didn't say much, merely smiled and handed her a small golden key, then whispered, "My dear, you have always held the key. You've always had it, but you never truly believed it could be yours so simply." When Eleanor awoke, those words still echoed clearly in her mind. The world hadn't changed yet. Everything felt different. The sun still rose in the east. Birds still sang outside her window, but her perception of everything had begun to transform. The key in her dream wasn't a physical object, but a symbol of the truth, that the solution, the power, and the wholeness she sought were not in some distant place. They were right here, within her. That innate power wasn't something to be earned, learned, or discovered like a new land. It was inherent, residing within you since your first breath, and simply awaiting your recognition. It was her doubt, her lack of self-worth, and the habit of external seeking that had acted like dense clouds obscuring this sun of truth. Eleanor embarked on a new journey, not to distant lands, but inward. She dedicated time to quiet reflection each day, not to ask or pray for something from the outside, but to listen to herself. She learned to identify the beautiful qualities already present within her, the resilience that had helped her overcome so many difficulties, the compassion she extended to others, the latent creativity hidden in forgotten hobbies. She realized that the love she craved from others was actually a reflection of the love she first needed to give herself. Abundance wasn't just about the numbers in her bank account, but the feeling of wholeness when she connected with her core values. This perceptual shift carried an extraordinary power. As Eleanor began to recognize her inner treasures, as she stopped seeking externally what had always been readily available, her reality began to transform to match this new understanding. Relationships deepened not because others changed, but because she had changed how she was present within them. Joy arose from simple things, and the feeling of emptiness was gradually filled with peace and gratitude. The core message here is incredibly powerful and liberating. You are not a seeker on an endless journey. You are the origin of all you desire. Love, peace, joy, strength, creativity, abundance, all these qualities are not foreign entities to be attracted from the outside. They are aspects of your consciousness, your divine essence waiting to be recognized, embraced, and activated by you. To help you experience this truth more profoundly, let's engage in the practice of internal recognition. Practice internal recognition. Choose a quality that you feel you are lacking or are striving to find in the external world, e.g., love, peace, strength, confidence, abundance, joy. Find a quiet space, sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take a few deep, even breaths to relax your mind and body. Turn your attention inward. Instead of feeling the lack of that quality, gently ask yourself, how does this quality of, name the quality, e.g. love, already exist within me? Where does it manifest in me, however small? Allow memories, feelings, or images to surface. For example, if you are seeking love, recall moments when you felt love. Perhaps the love you have for family, friends, pets, nature, or even the inherent capacity to love within your heart. If it's strength, remember times you were resilient when you overcame challenges. Feel the existence of that quality, even if only as a seed present within you. When you identify the presence of that quality, focus on that feeling. Allow it to grow, to expand throughout your body. Recognize it as a part of you. Affirm to yourself, I am love, I am strength, I am peace. Truly feel it. Spend a few minutes abiding in this state of recognition, feeling the wholeness and sufficiency from within. Practice this exercise regularly. Whenever you feel empty or crave something from the outside, pause and gently turn inward. Gradually, you will relinquish the habit of seeking validation and worth from others or external achievements. For the most important recognition, the most powerful key is the recognition you give yourself. You will discover that you don't need to search for treasure elsewhere, for you are that treasure. Chapter 3. Dancing with the Eternal Laws. As our journey of awareness deepens, we begin to touch upon a subtle truth. True manifestation is not a game of chance, nor does it merely bow to surface-level efforts or heartfelt pleas. It operates according to precise and ancient universal laws, sacred principles through which all of creation is woven. The key lies not in doing more, affirming more, or requesting more, but in becoming. That is, aligning your entire being from the subtlest vibrations of your soul to perfectly harmonize with the frequency of your desire already manifested as truth. Charles was a diligent and enthusiastic man. He had read numerous books on the law of attraction, attended courses, and diligently applied every technique, taught positive affirmations each morning. A vision board hung prominently in his office, and visualization practices every night before sleep. He tried to act as if he already possessed everything he desired. Occasionally, small successes would come, bringing fleeting joy and encouragement. However, the significant changes, the deep-seated desires of his heart, seemed to remain just out of reach. He felt like he was running on a hamster wheel, exerting great effort for results that were either unsustainable or didn't truly touch the core of transformation. The law of attraction, he began to sense, felt like merely an initial piece, one fragment of a much larger and more intricate picture. He wondered if there were hidden mechanisms of reality he had yet to grasp, sacred principles governing the flow of creation. One afternoon, while sitting pensively in a small cafe, Charles happened to overhear the conversation of an elderly woman. She had an unassuming appearance, yet her eyes sparkled with an uncommon wisdom. She was sharing with a friend how the universe operates not through the lens of mere techniques, but through an understanding of profound laws. Charles felt strangely drawn to her. After a moment's hesitation, he boldly approached and asked if he might listen further. The woman smiled benignly. She didn't speak of complicated techniques, but shared foundational laws, truths that have existed since the dawn of time. She spoke of the law of resonance. "Young man," she said, her voice gentle yet profound, "manifestation doesn't truly flow from what you do, but from who you are. Your inner vibrational frequency, your state of being, must be in complete harmony with the frequency of what you desire. Who you are is more important than what you do." Charles suddenly realized that although he tried to act as if deep down fear, doubt, and a sense of lack were ever present, he was merely trying to apply a coat of positive paint over an unhealed foundation. He needed to focus on cultivating his inner being, raising his vibrational frequency to match the reality he wished to create instead of just chasing external actions. Next, she spoke of the law of certainty. Belief, she explained, isn't about trying to blindly force yourself to believe something. True certainty comes from a deep understanding. When you truly comprehend how the universe works, when you grasp these principles, doubt has no place, just as you never doubt the sun will rise each morning. Charles understood that the certainty he sought wasn't a form of autosuggestion, but the natural outcome of thoroughly understanding universal laws. He needed to seek understanding, and unwavering faith would naturally arise from it. And then she shared the law of detachment, or release. Many people get stuck, she said, because they try to control the manifestation process to manipulate the outcome. But true power, the flow of creation, only emerges when you release that grip, when you completely trust in the workings of the universe and its laws. Do your part to align yourself, then release your attachment to the outcome and the manner in which it unfolds. Charles recognized he had always been trying to control, always worrying about the when and how. He needed to learn to trust, to let go, to allow a greater power to operate. Finally, the woman looked at Charles with a meaningful gaze and uttered a sentence that completely changed his perspective. My dear, manifestation is not about asking, it's about becoming. This was the illumination, the fundamental shift from standing outside and wishing to becoming the living embodiment of that wish. Instead of continually asking the universe, he needed to ask himself, what kind of person already has this? How do they think, feel, and act? And then to strive to become that person in every moment. Charles left the cafe with unprecedented clarity and peace. He understood that the universe operates with mathematical precision, not based on luck or random pleas. It responds only to perfect alignment with its principles. When a person achieves this state of alignment, they are no longer a separate individual trying to create something. They become one with the very essence of creation. His efforts now shifted towards achieving this perfect alignment, a process demanding deep self-awareness, inner discipline, and a continuous understanding of universal laws. He began to practice in a new way. Instead of merely repeating affirmations, he felt the energy of already being the person he wanted to become. He didn't just visualize the outcome, he lived in the frequency of its fulfillment. Gradually, a miraculous change took place. His being was transformed from within, and the very magnetic force of this transformed being began to naturally draw towards him what he sought gently without effort, as if it inherently belonged to him. Opportunities, relationships, and necessary resources started to appear synchronistically and harmoniously, so that you may personally experience and cultivate this state of becoming. Here is a sacred and powerful practice. Sacred practice, becoming. Sit in stillness. Close your eyes and clearly identify what you wish to manifest or the person you aspire to become. Instead of requesting or visualizing it as something external or in the future, ask yourself, if this were my truth right now, who would I be? How would I feel? What would my thoughts be? How would my energy radiate? Allow yourself to sink deeply into that state of already being. Feel every cell in your body vibrate with the frequency of fulfillment of that new person. For instance, if you desire peace, feel peace flooding your being right now, as if it's your most natural state. If you want confidence, feel that confidence radiating from your core. Don't just think about it, truly feel it with your entire being. Let the energy of being one with your desire permeate you and become your natural frequency. Maintain this state for a few minutes or longer if you feel comfortable. When you conclude the practice, carry that feeling of already being with you into your day. Let it guide your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Practice this becoming exercise daily. Gradually, you will shift your focus from doing techniques to being the person whose vibrational frequency matches your dreams. Build faith based on understanding universal laws. and learn to release control, trusting in the perfect operation of the universe once you are truly aligned. For when you harmonize with the eternal laws, you not only manifest your desires, you become a living expression of sacred creation itself. Chapter 4. The Lighthouse that Shines from Within. We are journeying together on a path of discovering the profound laws of the universe, and in this chapter a subtle yet incredibly important paradox will be unveiled. Desperation, a burning desire, and clinging to a wish, instead of bringing what we seek closer, often inadvertently create an energy of lack, pushing it further away. The key to transforming this paradox into a natural attraction, a powerful magnetic force, lies in ceasing the chase of external shadows. Instead, gently turn inward patiently, cultivate wholeness, self-possession, and become the very energy you wish to invite into your life. When you do this, you no longer need to seek for what is compatible, will naturally be drawn to you as gently as a breath. Margaret's story is a vivid testament to this truth. Margaret was a woman with a warm heart, yearning for a deep love, a committed and sincere relationship. But this longing within her was so intense, it almost became desperation. She frequently felt an indescribable void, a constant anxiety about being alone. She was unaware that the very energy of this fervent needing was creating an invisible wall. Because the universe responds to who you are, not what you want, when that want stems from a mindset of deficiency. When she pleaded for love from a place of emptiness, she was emitting the frequency of lovelessness. When she relentlessly pursued approval from others, she inadvertently radiated an energy of feeling unworthy. And the law of attraction, in its precision, simply mirrored what she was truly broadcasting. Margaret had tried very hard. She used dating apps, asked friends for introductions, read books on relationships, and tried to apply every piece of advice. But encounters often ended in awkwardness, or seemingly potential men would gradually distance themselves for no apparent reason. After each instance, she would sink into analysis, berating herself for what she did wrong, where she wasn't good enough. Desperation created resistance. The more she needed love, the more elusive love became. It was like trying to hold a butterfly in your palm. The tighter you grip, the more it struggles to escape. Her strong attachment to having to have a relationship was a manifestation of her deep-seated fear of loneliness and sense of lack. Then one day, after many disappointments, Margaret chanced upon a book that spoke of the power of inner wholeness, of becoming the source rather than the seeker. The words touched something deep within her. She began to realize that perhaps the problem wasn't that she hadn't found the right person, but that she hadn't yet become the right energy. She understood that no one outside could fill the void within her if she didn't first do it herself. With newfound determination, Margaret decided to shift her focus. Instead of pouring all her energy into finding a partner, she began the journey of cultivating herself. She dedicated time to forgotten hobbies, learned new skills, and nurtured her physical and mental health. Most importantly, she learned to love and accept herself with all her strengths and imperfections. She found joy in solitude in afternoons, spent reading alone in meaningful conversations with friends, without feeling like she was missing someone to be complete. The power of inner wholeness began to blossom. As Margaret became whole within herself, this self-sufficiency didn't push others away. On the contrary, it acted as a powerful magnet. She no longer needed someone to complete her, and it was precisely this self-possession, this peace radiating from her, that made her incredibly attractive. The secret gradually unveiled itself to Margaret. It wasn't about finding the right person, but about becoming the right energy. She envisioned herself as a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't need to chase any ships, nor does it need to beg vessels to stop by. It simply stands there steadfast and radiant, with its own value shining its warm, guiding light. And the ships that need that light, the ships compatible with its frequency, will naturally navigate towards it. Margaret began to identify the energy she wanted to attract. Sincere love, respect, a soul connection. Then she strove to become the embodiment of those very energies in how she lived, thought, and felt each day. And something magical happened. When she released the grip of desperate desire, she lost nothing. In fact, she was activating a greater power within herself and in the universe. She merged with the natural flow towards expansion and fulfillment. Sometime later, at an art exhibition she attended purely for her own enjoyment, she met James. The encounter was entirely natural, with no calculation or effort on her part. James was drawn to Margaret's quiet confidence, the passion that lit up her eyes when she spoke about art, and the peace that emanated from her. They connected easily, as if they had known each other for a long time. Love came to Margaret not because she sought it, but because she had become a radiant lighthouse, and James was a ship that had seen her light. When you release the burden of having to control everything, you trust in the universe's perfect timing. The heartfelt affirmation, "The universe knows the perfect path," is not a weak surrender, but a declaration of power and profound trust in a larger order, in sacred timing. When everything will arrive at the most opportune moment, when you are truly ready and in a compatible state of energy. To support you on your journey of releasing attachments and becoming your own lighthouse, here is a symbolic and powerful ritual. Sacred Release Ritual. Find a quiet space and some time for yourself. Prepare a pen, a piece of paper, and a safe item for burning the paper, like a heat-proof bowl or fireplace. On the paper, write down all your fears, anxieties, desperation, and clingings related to a specific area or a desire to which you feel overly attached. Be honest and pour your heart out onto the paper. Once you've finished writing, read it over once more. Then consciously prepare to release these heavy energies. Carefully burn the paper. As you watch the flames consume the words, imagine that all those negative energies, the desperation and the clinging, are also being transformed and released from your energy field. After the paper has completely burned, place your hand on your heart and speak the following affirmation, or a similar one from your heart. I release all my attachments and desperation regarding this outcome. I stand whole and complete within myself. I know I am worthy and already have everything I need right now. I trust in the perfect flow of the universe and its sacred timing. The universe knows the perfect path, and I peacefully welcome what is best for me. Take a few deep breaths, feeling the lightness and peace spread within you. Practice this ritual whenever you feel yourself clinging or becoming desperate. More importantly, practice cultivating wholeness, self-love, and self-worth daily. Be the lighthouse. Shine your best qualities naturally without striving. Trust that when you become the right energy, the right things, kindred spirits, and wonderful opportunities will naturally find their way to you at the most perfect time. Chapter 5. Breaking the Loop. Rewriting your subconscious script. There are familiar melodies that play on repeat in the soundtrack of our lives, patterns in relationships, seemingly cyclical challenges in our careers, or certain emotions that resurface time and again, even when circumstances appear to have changed. These recurring life loops, these patterns so familiar they can feel like fate, are not random. They are faithful manifestations, precise reflections of the beliefs, expectations, and silent scripts operating powerfully within the deep realm of your subconscious mind. To truly break these repetitive patterns and create a new, more radiant reality, it is paramount to courageously illuminate, identify, and then with consciousness and self-compassion, rewrite these hidden programs. David was an intelligent, talented, and hard-working man, yet he frequently found himself trapped in situations that seemed to repeat with uncanny regularity. In his career, no matter how hard he tried, promising projects often ended in disappointment. His contributions seemed undervalued, or he would encounter unnecessary misunderstandings with colleagues. In his romantic life, he appeared to always attract the same type of partner. Relationships that began warmly would then fade according to a familiar script. David felt like he was living in a movie with a pre-written screenplay, powerless to change his role. He had tried everything. He read countless self-help books, attended workshops on communication leadership skills, and even meditation. He consciously changed his behaviors, tried to do things differently to think more positively. But then, as if inevitably, the old patterns would reemerge, perhaps merely wearing a new disguise. The truth is, the subconscious mind is the primary architect of our reality. Its power far surpasses that of conscious intentions. The subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't differentiate between what you consciously desire and what you truly deep down believe and expect to be true. It simply operates to manifest a reality consistent with your deepest convictions, the scripts long installed, often from childhood or through deeply impactful experiences. David's conscious efforts to change were therefore like trying to change the fruit on the branches without addressing the roots of the tree. The recurring difficulties, failures, or feelings of stagnation David experienced were not punishments from the external world, nor were they due to bad luck. They were precise mirrors reflecting his internal beliefs, hidden beliefs about his self-worth, about what he believed he deserved, and about what he believed was possible in his life. Perhaps somewhere in his subconscious he carried a belief that "I'm not good enough for big success," or "true love is always elusive," or "no matter how hard I try, things will eventually go wrong." One day, during a rare moment of stillness, as David was contemplating the loops in his life, a quote he had once read suddenly surfaced, as clear as if someone were whispering in his ear, "You don't repeat the past. You are creating it again and again in every present moment." And this sentence struck him like a thunderbolt. We create the past in the present. David suddenly realized he wasn't a helpless victim of his past or some predetermined fate. He himself, through the stories he told himself, through the beliefs he continued to nurture, was actively recreating those old patterns. The present moment was the point of power where he could begin to change the script of his life. What we often call fate or destiny is in reality the faithful recreation of subconscious expectations. As long as these core beliefs, these deeply programmed subconscious scripts, are not brought to light and transformed, we will unconsciously continue to create the same kind of reality, the same kind of experiences. David understood he needed to become an archaeologist of his own mind, courageously exploring the hidden expectations and silent scripts shaping his life. Awareness is the first step, the torch that illuminates the path to rewriting the script. Only when you become conscious of the underlying programs running can you have the power to choose whether to let them continue operating or not. And once you've identified them, you can begin the process of rewriting, choosing new beliefs, new narratives that are positive and more supportive of your highest goals and aspirations. To assist you and David on this journey of discovering these hidden scripts, here is a simple yet profoundly insightful practice. Practice subconscious revelation. Choose an area of your life where you feel you are experiencing repetitive patterns or feel stuck, e.g., career, finances, relationships, health, self-confidence. Find a quiet space where you can be alone and undisturbed for about 15-20 minutes. Have a pen and paper or a journal ready. Close your eyes, take a few deep, even breaths to quiet your mind. At the top of the page, write a prompt, for example, regarding your chosen area, e.g., my career. Deep down, I truly believe that. Then let your thoughts flow freely onto the page. Don't judge, don't try to edit or appear positive. The goal here is to allow what truly lies in your subconscious to be revealed, no matter how negative, irrational, or surprising it may seem. Just keep writing until you feel the flow temporarily pause. You can use additional prompts to delve deeper. For instance, I truly believe I deserve in this area. I truly expect what will happen when I try. In this area, people with characteristics like mine usually experience what in this area My biggest fear related to this area is, after you've finished writing, take some time to read what you've written with an attitude of curiosity and compassion, as if you were reading the story of a close friend. This is not the time for self-blame, but for understanding. These words are precious clues to the silent scripts governing your life. When you confront an unwanted, repetitive pattern, pause and ask yourself, what core belief within me is creating this experience? Become aware of the stories you typically tell yourself about yourself and your life. Are they reinforcing old limitations or opening up new possibilities? Remember, recognizing limiting beliefs is not a condemnation, nor is it meant to make you feel bad about yourself. On the contrary, it is the very moment you are handed back your power. Because once a script has been brought to light, you can absolutely choose to write a new one, a new story. A story of abundance, joy, success, and love that you truly deserve. The present is always the perfect time to begin. Chapter 6. Feeling is the key, the secret language of the universe. In our journey of co-creating reality, we often place great faith in the power of words, in affirmations and clearly articulated intentions. But there is a deeper truth, a secret often overlooked. The universe doesn't truly respond to hollow words or our mechanical repetitions. The universe communicates with and responds to energy, to the genuine emotion that those words or even silence carry. The secret of manifestation, of inviting desired experiences into your life, lies in the vibrational frequency you emit. And that frequency is determined by the very emotions reigning within you. To deeply feel the desired state as if it were already real, that is the language the universe understands, the golden key to unlocking the door of creation with ease and grace. Abigail was a woman devoted to her spiritual practices. Every morning she dedicated time to affirmations. She would repeat with solemnity, "I am abundant, I am worthy, I am blessed. The universe always takes care of me." She believed in the power of these words, yet her life didn't seem to much reflect these beautiful declarations. A vague sense of lack still lingered. The opportunities she hoped for hadn't appeared, and true joy seemed to remain somewhere in the distance. Abigail didn't understand why. She had followed the teachings correctly, but her affirmations, though repeated thousands of times, were like empty vessels. They had the beautiful form of words, but lacked the vibrant living water of genuine emotion to fill them. They were merely sounds echoing in an emptiness, devoid of the power to touch the deep wellspring of creation. She began to feel disheartened. Why did others seem to manifest wonderful things so easily, while she still struggled? The more forcefully she tried to affirm, the more mechanical the words became, and the gap between what she said and what she felt grew ever wider. If she said, "I am abundant," but deep inside felt profound lack, then that feeling of lack was the true message the universe heard and responded to. Because energy and emotion are the language of the universe. Just as a piece of music can deeply move the soul, not by the notes written on paper, but by the resonance of sound, by the emotion it evokes, the universe also hears and responds to the vibrational frequency you are emitting. Every emotion, be it joy, sadness, gratitude, or fear, carries a distinct energetic signature. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, will precisely mirror that energetic signature back into your reality. One morning, exhausted from mental efforts that yielded no results, Abigail decided to abandon her habitual repetition of affirmations. She simply sat still in silence. Instead of trying to tell the universe, she allowed herself to simply feel. She closed her eyes and asked herself, if all that I longed for had already come true, how would I feel? No more words, just pure allowing. And then a warm feeling of gratitude began to spread from her heart. A gentle joy, a profound peace of already having, of already being, flooded her entire being. Not a single word needed to be spoken. That very feeling was the most effective, most powerful prayer she had ever experienced. That was the moment she truly touched the language of the universe. She realized that the language the universe understands is not spoken through the intellect or complex grammatical structures, but is felt through the silent knowing of the heart. It is the sacred space of pure emotion, where you are no longer a separate individual trying to ask for something, but you become one with the very energy of what you desire. Trust in the wisdom of your heart and your genuine emotions. They are your most reliable compass and the most powerful bridge to the boundless creative power of the universe. From that day on, Abigail's practice completely changed. She might still use affirmations, but now they were merely tools to evoke and anchor emotion. Her priority became feeling the desired state, immersing herself in the joy, gratitude, and peace as if all good things had already manifested, and her life began to transform miraculously. Stress was replaced by trust. Lack gave way to a sense of inner abundance, and opportunities began to appear naturally without striving. So that you can master the ability to speak the language of the universe, to proactively create and maintain the emotional state of fulfillment, here is an incredibly useful practice. Practice embodying emotional energy. Choose something you wish to experience or a state you wish to attain, e.g., love, success, vibrant health, inner joy. Find a quiet place, sit or lie down comfortably. Close your eyes and relax your entire body. Take a few deep, even breaths. Instead of just thinking about your desire, sincerely ask yourself, if this were already a part of my reality right now, how would I feel? What emotions would surge within me? Allow yourself to truly immerse in those emotions. It could be radiant joy, profound peace, boundless gratitude, a feeling of safety and being cherished, or freedom and lightness. Don't just imagine them. Feel them with every cell in your body. Let a smile grace your lips if it comes naturally. Let your body reflect this inner state. Stay with those emotions, nurture them. Allow them to grow and expand throughout your energy field. The goal is for you to be able to recall this feeling at will, making it as real as any physical experience. Practice this daily, even if only for a few minutes. The more frequently you live in the emotional state of fulfillment, the more you attune your vibrational frequency to harmonize with its manifestation. When you practice affirmations or visualizations, always ask yourself, what am I truly feeling right now? If there's a conflict between your words and emotions, be honest with the emotion first. Accept it, then slowly and gently shift it towards more positive vibrations. Dedicate time each day to practicing feeling the state you desire. Let that sensation permeate your body, becoming a vivid experience, a natural part of who you are. Trust that your pure, unadulterated emotion is an incredibly powerful creative force. Nurture positive and genuine emotions. Instead of just pleading from the outside, learn to radiate from within, from your very heart, the energy of what you wish to attract into your life. Because when you speak the language of the heart, the universe will listen and respond with the most wonderful melodies. Chapter 7. When you let go. The universe lifts you. The power of natural flow. On life's journey, we often carry an unconscious belief that to achieve our desires and ensure everything goes smoothly, we must seize control, meticulously plan and force reality to conform to our will. But the universe, in its wise workings, frequently reveals a contrary truth. Desperate efforts to control the flow of life and its outcomes often create resistance, ironically hindering the very things you crave. True power and effortless manifestation come not from forcing or clinging at all costs, but from letting go of the need to control, from placing your faith in the vast universal intelligence, and from merging with the natural, graceful flow of life. Only then do the best things, creative solutions, and outcomes far beyond your limited vision have the chance to unfold. Walter was a successful businessman renowned for his detailed planning and tight control over every project. He believed the key to success lay in anticipating all risks, managing every minute detail, and allowing nothing to deviate from its course. His plans were always packed with objectives, specific steps, and strict deadlines. Outwardly, he was the epitome of someone in command, but deep inside, Walter felt constant tension. Despite his relentless efforts to control everything, his projects frequently faced unexpected obstacles, inexplicable delays, and the final results often fell short of his initial expectations. He found himself constantly firefighting, struggling to pull everything back on track. The paradox of control was evident. The more Walter tried to force reality to bend to his iron will, the more it seemed to resist his touch. Excessive control didn't bring the security he thought it would. It only created more stress and resistance from the very flow of life. One day, feeling exhausted and disheartened after a series of failures in controlling an important project, Walter decided to put everything aside and seek refuge by a quiet riverside to fish, a pastime he had long forgotten. He sat there watching the water flow languidly, free from plans and pressures. Nearby, an old fisherman with a serene expression was gently casting his net. Walter struck up a conversation, lamenting his difficulties and his feeling of powerlessness in controlling his work. The old fisherman listened in silence, then smiled, pointed to the river, and said, "Young man, this river doesn't flow because you try to push it. It flows because you let it flow. The fish in this river are the same. The tighter you try to grip them when you catch them, the faster they'll try to slip through your fingers." Those simple words were like cool water soothing Walter's tense mind. He suddenly grasped a profound truth. Life, like that river, has its own natural flow, and the wisdom of this natural flow far surpasses any limited human attempts at control. He had been trying to fight the current, to direct it, instead of learning to observe and harmonize with its rhythm. Walter began to contemplate. He realized that his need for control had become a prison, an invisible prison of his own making, keeping him bound to ceaseless struggle, while the natural flow of abundance, of better opportunities and solutions, drifted by right beside him. Control offered him a false sense of security, but it robbed him of freedom, flexibility, and the ability to receive the wonderful surprises life is always ready to offer. When we release our iron grip on the outcome, we do not become weak or helpless. On the contrary, we open up a vast space, inviting universal intelligence to orchestrate circumstances in ways that far exceed our limited vision. Just as you cannot command the ocean waves to stop, you can certainly learn to surf them, feeling and flowing with their rhythm. Trust that there is a greater order, a primordial wisdom perfectly operating this universe. Letting go is an act of faith, allowing this wisdom to lead and create in place of the limited efforts of the small self. Returning from his trip, Walter decided to try a new approach. With a small project, he still set clear goals, worked diligently, and gave his all within his sphere of responsibility. But then, instead of trying to control every detail of the process and worrying about the outcome, he practiced letting go. He took a deep breath and said to the universe, "I have done my best. I now entrust the outcome to its highest and best orchestration." Initially, it felt difficult. The anxiety to control still arose, but he persevered. And something magical happened. The project was not only completed on time, but also yielded results far exceeding expectations. Unexpected solutions appeared, collaborators became more harmonious, and Walter felt a lightness, a joy he had never experienced before. He understood that when you let go with unwavering faith, you tap into a force much greater than your own limited efforts. This is not a surrender born of despair, but a conscious act based on deep trust in the benevolent and loving workings of the universe. To help you practice this conscious letting go, freeing yourself from the prison of control, here is a simple yet meaningful ritual. Ritual for releasing control. Identify a goal, a relationship, a specific situation, or an aspect of your life where you feel you are trying to control things excessively, causing stress and exhaustion. Take a piece of paper and a pen. Write down all your fears related to not controlling this situation. List the specific ways you are trying to control it and what anxieties are fueling that need for control. Be honest with yourself. After you have written everything down, read it over once. Become aware that these are energies patterns that you are ready to release. Safely, e.g., in a heat-proof bowl or a well-ventilated area, burn the paper. As the flames rise and consume the words, visualize that you are also releasing the tight grip of your need for control, releasing the burden of having to manage everything yourself. When the paper has completely burned, place your hand on your heart and speak the following affirmation or a similar one that comes from your heart. I release the need to control. State the specific situation outcome. I fully trust in the infinite intelligence of the universe and the perfect natural flow of life. I have done my best with love and dedication. I now release this outcome with firm faith that my highest good and the highest good of all concerned will be best served. Everything will unfold magically and in perfect timing. Take a few deep breaths. Feel the lightness, peace, and spaciousness that has just been created within you as you release the burden of control. Whenever you feel the urge to control something to the point of stress, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what would happen if right now I chose to trust and allow things to unfold naturally in their own best way? Focus on doing your part to the best of your ability, with all your heart, and then learn to release the outcome with the faith that your highest good is always being cared for by the universe. When you let go, you do not fall. You are allowing the universe to gently lift you higher. Chapter 8. Creating from the Quantum Field. Choosing your best version. As we venture deeper on the path of understanding ourselves and the universe, a new and incredibly wondrous door of perception opens. You are not at all confined to a rigid timeline or a single, unchangeable reality. Modern science and ancient wisdom are increasingly converging at a point where the quantum field is seen as a space containing countless possible versions of your life, each vibrating at its own unique frequency. Through this lens, manifestation is not about trying to create something entirely new from nothing, but rather a subtle and powerful process of activating and shifting your consciousness to a reality where your desire already exists, already part of the grand tapestry. This is achieved not by strenuous external effort, but by changing your state of being from within, that is, by becoming the very version of yourself who is living, feeling, and vibrating at the frequency compatible with that reality. Joseph was a kind man who always felt his life was rather ordinary, marked by a subtle sense of lack and opportunities that seemed to consistently slip through his fingers. He had dreams, aspirations for a more abundant and meaningful life, but they felt too distant, like glittering stars just beyond his reach. He felt framed within his current reality, one that didn't bring him much satisfaction. Joseph didn't know that even that feeling of being stuck was just one of innumerable potential experiences he could choose. He had worked hard, set specific goals, and tried to change his external circumstances. He sought better jobs, tried to save more money, but there always seemed to be an invisible wall preventing him from achieving real breakthroughs. His efforts to change the external world often fell short, because the old self within him, with its limiting beliefs, familiar feelings of lack, and the vibrational frequency of his current reality remained. The universe doesn't simply respond to what you want. It responds to who you are, to the state of being you are embodying. One evening, in a state of deep relaxation, after reading a book on quantum physics and consciousness, Joseph had an extraordinary experience. He wasn't quite dreaming, nor was he fully awake. In that space, a warm, deep voice, as if from a mysterious stranger who also felt strangely familiar, resonated in his mind. Joseph, my dear, do you know that you are not just this single version of yourself? You exist in countless versions, each living a different life, experiencing different realities, all existing simultaneously in the infinite field of possibilities. Joseph living in lack is merely one choice. Joseph living in abundance and fulfillment is also a choice, a potential reality awaiting you. You don't create these versions. You simply choose the version you wish to embody, the one you wish to experience. Those words were like an enlightening thunderbolt. Joseph jolted awake, his heart pounding. The idea of having countless versions of himself, innumerable timelines existing in parallel, was both overwhelming and imbued him with intense hope. He began to understand that manifestation wasn't about creating from scratch, but about shifting frequency, changing the channel to an already existing reality where what he desired was an obvious truth. This required him to match the frequency of that reality to become the version of himself already living in it. Inspired by this revelation, Joseph began a new practice. Each morning he stood before the mirror, but this time he didn't focus on his flaws or signs of fatigue. He looked deep into his own eyes and tried to visualize, feel, and call forth the version of Joseph living in abundance. He asked himself, how would this Joseph stand? What would his gaze be like? His smile? What would he think about himself and the world? How would he feel in every moment? The mirror was no longer an inanimate object. It became a teacher, showing that external reality was merely a reflection of the inner self. The Joseph living in abundance he envisioned had an entirely different demeanor, more confident, calmer, with brighter eyes. He wasn't waiting for success to find him. He was the embodiment of success, of that abundance. Joseph understood that his dream version wasn't a distant illusion, but a vibrant reality vibrating with its own energy in the quantum field. His task was to adjust his own frequency, to step into harmony with it. He began to practice thinking, feeling, and acting as if he were already that abundant Joseph. When faced with a decision, he would ask himself, how would my abundant version choose? When feeling anxious, he would self-correct. My abundant version would feel peaceful and trusting. The change didn't happen overnight, but gradually Joseph began to perceive shifts. He no longer strived or struggled desperately. Instead, he focused on embodying his new self. And then opportunities began to appear naturally. Relationships became more harmonious, and the inner feeling of lack slowly dissolved, replaced by a steady peace and trust. He realized that true change, the shifting of timelines, occurs when you live and act as if you are already the version you've always longed to be, so that you may personally experience the power of choosing and stepping into your best timeline. Here is a symbolic and powerful practice. Practice timeline shifting. First, take some time to vividly imagine your ideal version of yourself and the life you wish to experience. What qualities does this version possess? How do they think, feel, and act in daily life? What does it feel like to live in that reality? Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Stand tall, yet relaxed. Close your eyes and visualize before you a threshold or a gateway of light. And this threshold symbolizes the transition from your current reality to your desired reality, where your ideal version is living. Before you decide to step through, take a few moments to consciously put on the energy, emotions, thoughts, and demeanor of that ideal version. Feel yourself as that person right here, right now. Feel the confidence, joy, peace, gratitude, whatever emotions correspond to that reality. When you feel truly aligned with the energy of your ideal version, take a deep breath and with a clear, strong intention, step through that symbolic threshold. As you step through, silently affirm or say aloud, "Right now, I am stepping into the timeline of," briefly describe the desired reality, e.g. abundance, joy, and fulfilling success. I am my best version living fully in this reality. After you have stepped through, pause for a moment. Feel the shift in your energy, in your sensations. Believe that you have truly shifted. Carry this feeling, this energy with you into your day, into all your actions and interactions. Practice this exercise regularly, especially in the morning as you begin a new day, or whenever you feel the need to realign your energy. Remember, you are not limited by what you see before you. Your current self and present circumstances are just one of countless possibilities. This grants you boundless freedom and power. Every moment is an opportunity for you to decide who you want to become and what reality you wish to experience. Courageously choose the best version of yourself and walk forward with the faith that this reality has always been waiting for you. Chapter 9, Listening to the Universe Whisper, the Language of Synchronicity. In the grand symphony of life, there is an undercurrent of communication, a sacred language the universe uses to converse with, guide, and encourage us every step of the way. This language doesn't always resonate through grand events or messages as clear as day. Often the universe chooses to whisper through synchronicity, meaningful coincidences, numbers that unexpectedly repeat a song that suddenly plays just when we need to hear it, or other subtle signs that at first glance may seem random. These are not trivial occurrences, but glistening golden threads in an intricately woven tapestry of messages designed to guide us towards our highest path, towards our deepest truth and joy. Recognizing and understanding this language requires an open heart, an aware mind, and a gentle attention to see the hidden meaning in seemingly small, everyday things. Ruth was an intelligent woman with a logical and practical mindset. She usually regarded coincidences as nothing more than the random results of probability. Currently, Ruth was navigating a rather uncertain phase of her life, contemplating a significant career change and feeling somewhat lost and confused, wishing for some clear guidance. She didn't know that the universe was always quietly communicating, not through ostentatious loud gestures, but through subtle whispers, patterns, repetitions, and meaningful concurrent events that could initially be easily overlooked. She had tried to find answers through familiar methods, market research, making pro and con lists, seeking advice from friends and trusted individuals. Yet despite all this, a sense of vagueness remained. Occasionally, she would notice strange things like repeatedly seeing the numbers 1111 on the clock, an old song with meaningful lyrics suddenly playing wherever she went, or a long-lost friend unexpectedly calling to share an experience similar to the issue she was facing. Initially, Ruth just shrugged them off as random events not worth her attention. She hadn't yet realized that signs are not rare, recognition is. One afternoon, while sitting alone in a small cafe, Ruth overheard a conversation from the next table. An elderly woman with kind eyes and a warm voice was sharing with her friend about signs in life. "My dear," she said, "the universe is always talking to us. It's just a matter of whether we're listening. Those coincidences you see, those are messages. We often walk through a garden full of messages with our eyes closed." Though not directly addressed to Ruth, that statement touched something deep within her. Spurred by a newfound curiosity, Ruth decided to try paying closer attention. She bought a small notebook and began to record the coincidences she encountered, repeating numbers, unexpected songs, seemingly significant dreams, or chance meetings. She didn't analyze or judge. She simply noted them down. As Ruth started journaling these synchronicities, she gradually saw an intricate guiding language emerge from what had seemed like disconnected events. A particular number often appeared when she was considering an important decision. A certain image or symbol would recur when she was feeling confused. This intentional tracking helped her recognize the underlying patterns and messages, as if someone were gently showing her the way. She came to understand that synchronicity is a personalized guiding language. Repeating numbers like 1111 or 333 a white feather suddenly falling before her, a song with lyrics that spoke directly to her heart, or a chance encounter bringing valuable information, none of it was meaningless. They were threads in the universe's tapestry of communication, delicately woven to lead each individual exactly where they needed to go to address the specific issues they were facing, perfectly suited to their unique and individual journey. Ruth learned to trust that there was a wise guidance, a greater intelligence operating for her highest good. Signs were no longer random events, but became reminders, affirmations, or gentle directives on her path. The purpose of these signs is to guide, not to mystify or lead us into a labyrinth of the esoteric. They appear to guide you into harmony with your highest path, like lighthouses illuminating the way, in the night, helping you feel more confident in your choices. When she received a sign instead of a fleeting curiosity, Ruth began to ponder what it meant for her current situation, the decision she was considering, or the emotion she was experiencing. So that you too can cultivate the ability to recognize and understand this loving language of the universe, here is a simple yet profoundly effective practice. Sacred practice of signs. Prepare a dedicated notebook or journal for recording signs and synchronicities. Each day or whenever you notice something that seems like a meaningful coincidence, write it down. This could be repeating numbers, e.g. 11, 222, 444, or personally significant sequences like birthdays or specific times like 11, 11, 12, 12. Symbols, images, or animals appearing unusually often. Songs you randomly hear with lyrics that seem to speak directly to your mood or situation. Unexpected encounters or conversations that bring important information or perspectives. Dreams that seem to carry a message. Sudden intuitive knowings or gut feelings. For each entry, note the date, a detailed description of the sign, and most importantly, the context at that moment. What were you doing, thinking, or feeling right before you noticed the sign? At the same time, record any emotions, thoughts, or flashes of insight that arose in you as soon as you received the sign. What did it suggest to you? After a certain period, e.g. a week or a month, take time to review what you've recorded. Look for patterns, recurring themes, or connections between the signs and events in your life or your inner state. Ponder what these patterns might be trying to tell you. Whether you are living amidst the hustle and bustle of a modern city, perhaps like Hanoi with its ceaseless flow of people, or in a more peaceful place, always remember that the universe is whispering. Take a little time each day to slow down, to observe and listen with your whole heart. Open yourself to coincidences and ask if they might carry a special message just for you. Trust that you are always being guided and learn to read the loving letters the universe sends you every day. Because when you begin to recognize and understand this language, life becomes a magical adventure where every sign is a reminder that you are never alone. Chapter 10. The Sacred Challenge. When outer appearances test inner certainty on the journey of manifesting our deepest dreams and aspirations, there will be moments when the fabric of reality seems to completely unravel, when all efforts appear futile, and everything you've steadfastly believed in is suddenly tested to its core. These moments when manifestation seems to fail are not the end of your journey. On the contrary, they are often the most sacred challenges. The universe sends an examination of the depth of your faith, the steadfastness of your vision, and your unshakable certainty in the universal laws. Your response to these daunting tests, whether you maintain your understanding and inner connection or surrender to the temporary chaotic appearances, will determine the final outcome and is often an initiatory turning point, elevating you to a new level of awareness. Edward was a dedicated man who had spent years studying and practicing the principles of manifestation. He held a grand vision for a community project that could bring positive change to many lives. He had sown the seeds of intention, nurturing them with the energy of faith and consistent action. Everything seemed to be progressing smoothly. Necessary resources began to appear, and he felt he was very close to realizing his dream. But then, like a sudden storm, everything turned upside down. A key partner withdrew at the last minute, committed funding was stalled, and unforeseen legal obstacles suddenly arose. Everything Edward had built seemed on the verge of collapse. His hope wavered. This apparent failure felt like an invitation to his deepest faith. The universe seemed to be asking him, "Edward, amidst this chaos, do you still believe in your vision? Do you still believe in the power of your intention and the workings of the laws?" The law of manifestation, he knew, operated through inner certainty, not through favorable external circumstances. Edward felt desperate. He wanted to give up. He wondered if he had been delusional, if everything he believed in was merely fanciful. It was in these darkest hours, when all hope seemed to vanish, that his true strength and commitment to his vision had the opportunity to rise most powerfully. He remembered the words of an old traveler he once met. "Son, most people give up just seconds before the miracle happens. The final barrier is often the most difficult challenge to overcome." The discouragement and intent to abandon ship when facing extreme difficulty right before reaching the finish line is an incredibly common trap on the path of manifestation. Edward realized that this apparent failure was not a predetermined end, but a threshold. How he reacted, whether he would retreat in fear and doubt or stand firm in understanding and faith, would determine everything that followed. He understood that every challenge was an opportunity for him to strengthen his faith and demonstrate his certainty. His choice in that moment held immense power, capable of reshaping the entire future of his project and his spiritual journey. He stood before an ultimate choice: to believe in the temporary appearances of difficulty of the collapse unfolding before his eyes, or to believe in the deeper currents of universal law that he had spent time learning and contemplating. This moment of choice was an initiation, a profound leap in growth. Edward decided to look through the surface manifestations of the problem to connect with the deeper truth of how the universe operates and his own unlimited inner power. He didn't try to deny or suppress the feelings of doubt and fear churning within him. Instead, he practiced certainty amidst the storm of doubt. He allowed every doubt, every fear to surface, feeling them fully without identifying with them. And then, with each breath, he consciously chose certainty instead, not by force of will, but by a quiet understanding, a reconnection with inner truth. True strength lies not in never doubting, but in the ability to hold your ground, maintain faith and certainty, even when the waves of reality try to topple you. With a newfound calm, Edward no longer focused on the problem. Instead, he returned to his original vision, to why this project was so important. He reaffirmed his belief in goodness, in the power of manifestation, and in the unseen support of the universe. He acted from a place of inner certainty, not desperation. And then miracles began to happen, not in the way he had initially planned, but in ways that were even more wonderful. A new investor who deeply shared his vision unexpectedly appeared. Legal hurdles were removed thanks to an unforeseen change in regulations. New, enthusiastic, and talented collaborators found their way to him. The project was not only saved, but thrived, taking on a greater scope than Edward had ever envisioned. The apparent failure had become a necessary stepping stone, a sacred challenge to purify his intention and pave the way for even greater things to manifest. So that you may stand firm through your own challenges, to keep the flame of faith burning, even when darkness seems to loom, here is a sacred practice to help you anchor your certainty. Sacred practice of certainty. When you face a major obstacle, an apparent failure, or when strong waves of doubt and fear surge within you, find a quiet space for yourself. Don't try to fight or suppress these difficult emotions. Allow yourself to feel them fully. Say to yourself, "I am feeling." Name the emotion: doubt, fear, disappointment. I accept the presence of this feeling. After allowing the emotion to be expressed, take several deep, even breaths, focusing on your breath to bring your mind back to inner stillness. Now gently shift your attention. Recall your vision, your goal, the reason you began. Remember your deep understanding of universal laws, of the power of intention and faith. With each inhalation, imagine you are breathing in the energy of certainty, of faith and truth. With each exhalation, imagine you are gently releasing the energies of doubt and fear. Silently affirm to yourself with a reliable inner voice, regardless of current appearances, I choose to stand firm in certainty. I trust my vision. I trust in the perfect and loving workings of the universe. Everything is happening for my highest good and the good of all. I am guided and supported. Feel this certainty even if it's just a small spark, initially gradually growing, expanding, and warming your entire being. This is not auto-suggestion, but a reconnection with a deeper truth, a truth that has always been there. Repeat this practice whenever you feel your faith wavering. Life, whether you are amidst the bustling and challenging streets of Hanoi or in some peaceful haven, will have moments that test your resolve. When you face major obstacles that make you want to give up on your goals, remember this message. It could very well be the sacred challenge, just before you reach success, before the miracle truly happens. See difficulties not as signs of failure, but as opportunities to express and strengthen your inner power, faith, and steadfastness. Because holding your ground when reality tests you is how you demonstrate true manifestation, how you prove to the universe and to yourself that you are ready for great things. Part 2. The Key to Absolute Harmony. Chapter 11. From Pleading to Embodiment. The Power of Being. Our journey of manifestation often begins with desires, with yearnings conveyed through words, prayers, or intentions shaped in the mind. But there is a deeper truth, a more potent key we need to grasp. The universe doesn't truly respond to pleas, supplications, or beautiful words if they stem from a mindset of lack of separation. Instead, the universe listens and responds to a different language, an ancient and far more powerful one, the language of existence, meaning the state and vibrational frequency of your very being. The true power of manifestation lies not in fervently requesting from an external force, but in embodying from within, in becoming the very person who already possesses, already experiences what you desire, speaking and feeling from an absolute certainty that it already is and currently is your reality. William was a man of faith. Every day he dedicated time to prayer, to ask the universe to grant him a better job, a more abundant life, a complete love. His prayers were sincere, heartfelt, yet often tinged with a quiet desperation, a persistent feeling of lack. He didn't realize that when he pleaded with the universe to grant him something, he was inadvertently affirming its absence in his reality. He was telling the universe, I don't have that, please give it to me. And the universe, in its faithful reflection, simply resonated with the very energy of lack he was emitting. As a result, no matter how much William prayed, his life seemed to remain stagnant, and the silence he perceived from the universe only deepened his disappointment. Pleading from lack only creates more lack. One day, in a rare moment of stillness after weary prayers, William chanced upon these words from a spiritual teacher: "The sun does not ask permission to shine, it simply shines. The ocean does not plead for permission to flow, it simply flows." That is the language the universe understands, the language of existence, of embodying essence. You do not ask fire for warmth. You draw near, and it naturally warms you. These words were like a cool, fresh stream upon William's parched soul. He suddenly recognized his error. He had always spoken the language of separation. He was the one lacking, pleading to a universe somewhere outside, an entity separate from him. But the universe only understands the language of oneness. Success, abundance, love, or anything he yearned for was not something to be begged from a distant power, but a state for him to enter, to embody, to become one with. William began to understand that reality operates through vibration, not mere words. His thoughts, emotions, and energy had to be in complete harmony with the frequency of what he desired. When this harmony was achieved, the universe had no other choice but to reflect this harmony into his life. This was a natural law, not a manifestation requiring struggle or pleading. He realized that he was an expression of the great creative force, and the universe responded not to his pleading voice, but to the silent song of his very being. His role was not to plead, but to become. From this profound realization, William completely changed his approach to his desires. Instead of asking, he began to be. He no longer said, "Please give me a good job," but focused on becoming a person who had a wonderful job, feeling the joy, confidence, gratitude, and sense of contribution that job would bring. He no longer said, "Please give me love," but became an embodiment of love, nurturing love within himself, radiating it outwards and feeling wholly deserving of love. This change wasn't just in his words, but more importantly, in his inner state, in the vibrational frequency he emitted. He learned to shift from requesting to commanding, or more accurately, declaring with inner authority. This wasn't an arrogant command, but a firm affirmation stemming from a deep knowing that it was already his, already a part of his reality, in the infinite field of possibilities. The power lay in the energy flowing through that declaration, a shift from fragile hope to solid knowing, from a weak request to an authoritative declaration of a co-creator with the universe. As William practiced this, he felt a distinct change in his energy. Desperation was replaced by peace. Lack gave way to a sense of inner abundance. And then external changes began to appear. An ideal job opportunity came to him unexpectedly. Relationships became more harmonious and loving. His life was no longer a struggle, but became a flow of natural and effortless manifestation, so that you may personally experience the power of being. And speaking the language of existence here is a sacred practice of embodiment. Choose a desire or a state you wish to manifest in your life. Instead of thinking of it as something you want to have or ask to receive, transform it into a present tense declaration as if it is already your truth. For example, instead of "I wish I had more money," declare "I am prosperity. The flow of abundance courses through my life." Instead of "Please let me find love," declare "I am love. I am living in a loving and harmonious relationship." Instead of "I want to be healthy," declare "I am the embodiment of perfect health and vitality." When you speak these declarations either silently or aloud, the most crucial part is to focus on the feeling and energy of absolute certainty that it is already true. Feel it with every cell in your body. This isn't about mechanically trying to convince yourself, but about connecting with the truth that already exists in the field of potential. Notice the shift in your energy as you move from a mindset of pleading or hoping to a state of knowing and being. Pay attention to the feelings of peace, power, and inner confidence that arise. Practice these declarations regularly, making them a part of your inner dialogue and your natural vibrational frequency. Live, breathe, and act from this state of already being. Change the way you speak about your desires. Before expressing an intention, pause and check your inner state. Are you in a mindset of lack or abundance? Take time to truly feel and live as if your desire has already become reality, instead of just thinking about it or pleading for it from a distant place. Whether you are amidst the everyday rhythm of life in Hanoi or anywhere else in this world, remember that you are an inseparable part of the great creative force. The power to change your life, to co-create wonderful realities, lies right within you, in who you choose to become. The universe is always listening, not to pleas born of fear, but to the silent, magnificent song of your very being, of the state of existence you choose to embody. Chapter 12. Emotional Alchemy, Transforming Energy, Creating Reality. In the inner garden of each of us, there are vibrant flowers of joy, gratitude, and love, but also gloomy clouds of fear, doubt, or worry. We often tend to avoid, suppress, or try to destroy these emotions labeled negative, seeing them as enemies obstructing our path to happiness and manifestation. But the profound truth understood by ancient alchemists, which we now need to rediscover, is this: all emotions, even the most intense and uncomfortable ones, are not enemies. They are pure energy containing immense latent power and can be consciously transformed and redirected. By changing the label we unwittingly assign to their physical sensations in our bodies, and by proactively redirecting that flow of energy with clear intention, we can tap into the hidden creative power within them to serve our highest goals and our most fulfilling manifestations. This is the ancient and powerful art of emotional alchemy. Clara was a talented artist, a graphic designer with unique ideas. But whenever she faced an important new project, a presentation to clients, or even just the thought of putting her work out into the world, she would be enveloped by a fog of anxiety, fear of failure, and incessant self-criticism. She saw these emotions as her greatest obstacles, as proof of her weakness and lack of confidence. She believed they were stifling her creativity and her ability to manifest her best. She hadn't yet realized that emotion itself is energy awaiting direction. Clara had tried many ways to get rid of these uncomfortable emotions. She forced herself to think positively, plunged into work to distract herself, or sometimes criticized herself for allowing those emotions to take over. But the more she tried to suppress or fight a negative emotion, the stronger it seemed to become, its grip on her mind and body tightening. Resistance only amplifies emotion. When she fought against fear, she was inadvertently creating more things to fear. She was creating energy blockages, like trying to dam a powerfully flowing river. The water wouldn't disappear, but would only find a way to break through or overflow more fiercely. One day at a workshop on creativity and inner energy, Clara chanced upon a sharing from an elderly woman, a ceramicist with bright eyes and a gentle smile. She spoke about how she worked with her strong emotions. "My dears," she shared, "energy is never lost. It only changes from one form to another. Worry, fear, even anger, these are all powerful streams of energy. Like water, they can exist as stagnant, paralyzing ice. But if we know how to work with them, they can melt and transform into a surging river, nurturing life and creativity." Then she looked directly at Clara, as if reading her inner turmoil, and added, "Did you know the physical sensation of fear and the sensation of excitement, of eager anticipation before something big, are often very similar in our bodies? A faster heartbeat, quicker breath, butterflies in the stomach. The only real difference often lies in the label we assign to those sensations. Fear and excitement are the same stream of energy, just labeled differently by our minds. Try giving it a new label and see what happens." The wise woman's advice was like a key unlocking an entirely new awareness for Clara. She realized she had the power to choose how to interpret and name her inner sensations. Changing the label could completely change the emotional experience, and more importantly, the direction of that energy flow. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. Every emotion, whatever its label, carries within it the seed of manifestation power. Clara began to practice alchemy with her own emotions. The next time the familiar anxiety arose before an important presentation, instead of trying to push it away, she paused. She breathed deeply and focused on the physical sensations in her body: the racing heart, slightly clammy palms, a light churning in her stomach. She no longer called it anxiety. She silently told herself, "This is energy, this is excitement, this is a sign that this is truly important to me, and my body is mobilizing a great resource so I can do my best." She felt that stream of energy no longer as a threatening enemy, but as a powerful companion. She visualized that energy flowing into her mind, bringing clarity, into her voice bringing confidence, into her hands bringing skill. She was learning to harness the raw energy of emotion and redirect it towards her desires, her goals. As Clara learned to redirect her attention and intention, instead of resisting emotions, she could truly transform and master their energy. This wasn't merely superficial positive thinking, but energy mastery from the core. She realized her role wasn't to eliminate emotions, but to become an alchemist, transforming the lead of fear into the gold of creativity and manifestation power. Every fear holds a trapped creative force waiting to be liberated and directed. So that you too can practice this wondrous art of transformation, here is a sacred practice. Sacred practice of emotional alchemy. Identify and feel physical sensations. When you experience a strong emotion that you typically label as negative, e.g., anxiety, fear, doubt, anger, sadness, pause for a moment. Instead of getting caught up in the mind story about the emotion, shift your attention to the pure physical sensations occurring in your body. Is your heart racing? Are your muscles tense? Anywhere, shoulders, neck, jaw. How is your breath? What sensations are in your stomach? Describe these sensations objectively without judgment. Accept and welcome the energy. Take a deep breath and tell yourself, I accept the presence of these sensations. This is energy flowing within me. Don't try to banish or change it immediately. Assign a new label. Now experiment with giving this stream of energy a new label, a name that is more constructive and supportive. For example, if it's anxiety, fear, it could become energy of excitement, hidden strength, intense focus, energy for action. If it's anger, it could be energy of assertiveness, power to change, flame of truth. If it's doubt, it could be energy of caution, an invitation for more and more clarity. Choose a label that resonates with you. Move the body to circulate energy. Energy needs to flow. Perform some gentle movements to help this energy transform and avoid stagnation. This could be lightly shaking your hands and feet, stretching, walking quickly in place for a few minutes, or even dancing to joyful music. Feel the energy moving in your body. Consciously redirect intention. With the new label and the energy now circulating consciously, direct this stream of energy towards the goal or state you desire. Visualize this energy as a powerful river that you are guiding to water the seeds of your dreams, to empower your actions, or to bring clarity to your decisions. When you feel anxious or fearful, whether it's before an important presentation, a decisive meeting, or when facing the uncertainties of bustling city life like in Hanoi or anywhere else, try to pause. Clearly feel that sensation in your body. Experiment with relabeling that sensation. Combine this with physical movement to help the energy circulate and transform. Remember, strong emotions are not a sign of weakness. They are potential energy, a treasure awaiting your discovery and creative use to weave the most wonderful realities for your life. Chapter 13. The Law of Frequency Matching. As you are, so is your reality. We have journeyed together through many chapters, exploring different facets of the art of manifestation and inner power. Now we will touch upon one of the most ancient and fundamental laws, a principle governing all interactions in this universe. The universe does not merely respond to what you visualize or the words you affirm. More important than all else, it responds to the vibrational frequency that you embody and become in every moment of your life. To manifest a desire, you don't just think about it or speak of it. You must match its frequency, meaning you must live, feel, and act as if that thing is already and currently is an inseparable part of your reality. You simply cannot attract and experience that which contradicts your current state of being and energy frequency. Harold was a hard-working man with a rich imagination. He had read many books on the power of visualization and spent time each day with his eyes closed, painting vivid mental pictures of a life filled with wealth, success, and happiness. He saw himself owning a beautiful home, driving a luxury car, and traveling the world. He tried to feel the joy and contentment from these images, yet when he opened his eyes, reality remained harsh. His bank account was still empty, and the opportunities he hoped for had yet to appear. Harold didn't understand why. His visualization seemed to be only part of the truth, an incomplete piece of the puzzle. He hadn't yet realized that when you visualize wealth while your entire being, from your emotions to your deepest beliefs, is still vibrating at the frequency of lack, you are sending extremely mixed and contradictory signals into the quantum field. And the universe in its precision doesn't know which signal to respond to. One day on a trip seeking tranquility, Harold serendipitously found himself at an ancient monastery nestled on a mountainside. There he met an elderly monk who had lived most of his life in silence and deep contemplation. Though the monk spoke little, the peace and profound wisdom radiating from him touched Harold powerfully. Through simple gestures and a few lines written on paper, the monk conveyed a truth to Harold. True wealth is not something to be pursued externally, but a state to be lived from within. He wrote, "The wealthy do not pursue money. They harmonize with the frequency of abundance. A tree does not pursue sunlight. It reaches towards the light and naturally absorbs it." At that moment, a saying Harold had once heard from Eastern culture echoed in his mind. Dong Than Tung Dong Ki Tung Ko, meaning sounds of the same frequency resonate with each other. Energies or ki of the same kind will naturally find and harmonize with one another. He began to understand. The law of frequency matching is a fundamental universal law. Just as a radio can only pick up stations broadcasting at the frequency to which it is tuned, you too can only experience and attract into your life the people, circumstances, and events that are compatible with your own dominant vibrational frequency. The crucial question is not, what do I want? But rather, what is the dominant frequency I am currently emitting? Is it truly compatible with what I desire? Harold realized that his efforts thus far had focused only on thinking wealthy thoughts without truly embodying abundance. The change needed to occur at the level of his being, in the energy frequency he carried, not just in the thoughts or images in his mind. Manifestation requires a holistic transformation from how he thought and felt to how he behaved and interacted with the world around him. Manifestation is not about you trying to attract what you want from a distant place. It's about you matching its frequency, becoming one with it. And when you truly are that frequency, the universe simply mirrors back who you are, reflects that state of being. When you embody the energy of abundance from within, wealth will naturally flow to you, not as a chase, but as a natural resonance. Consider the universe a giant mirror. To change the reflection in the mirror, you can't just wish for it or try to wipe the mirror's surface. You must change yourself, the one standing before the mirror. With this new awareness, Harold began a different practice. He didn't just visualize wealth. He actively lived as if he were already a wealthy, abundant person, not by extravagantly spending what he didn't have, but by cultivating feelings of security, generosity, gratitude, and faith in the endless flow of prosperity. He focused on becoming the person who already had what he wanted, living from that state instead of forever pursuing it from a mindset of lack, so that you may personally experience the power of living as if, and aligning your energy with your highest desires. Here is a sacred practice. Sacred practice of embodiment. Living as if. Choose a specific desire or state you wish to manifest in your life. E.g., self-confidence, a harmonious relationship, a new career opportunity, inner peace. Commit to yourself that for a certain period, e.g., 7 consecutive days as a start, you will live as if that desire has completely become your reality. Each day during this period, frequently ask yourself, if my desire were already true, how would I be thinking right now? How would I be feeling in each moment? What actions would I be taking, or what actions would I stop taking? How would I be speaking, and in what tone of voice? How would I be treating myself and those around me? Then consciously choose to think, feel, speak, and act in exactly that way. For instance, if you desire self-confidence, stand taller, speak more clearly, make eye contact, and make decisions from a place of self-trust. If you desire peace, choose calmer responses to challenges. Make time for stillness and speak words that bring reconciliation. This is not about pretending mechanically, but a conscious energy alignment. You are actively attuning yourself to the frequency of the fulfilled desire. Truly feel it. Pay attention to the subtle feelings and changes within you as you practice this. Repetition and consistency in living as if will create a powerful energetic shift from within, and gradually the external world will begin to reflect this new state of yours. Whether you are amidst the vibrant and energetic pace of life in Hanoi or in a quieter place on this earth, always be conscious of the frequency you are emitting each day through your every thought, word, emotion, and action. If you desire peace in a noisy city, find a way to become the embodiment of that peace from deep within rather than merely hoping for it to come from external factors. Remember the ancient teaching Dong Than Tungeng Dong Ki Tung Ko, like vibrations attract. Similar energies naturally converge as a sacred reminder of the importance of becoming the person who shares the same ki, the same vibrational frequency as what you wish to attract into your life. Because your reality is the symphony created from the frequencies you choose to live and express. Chapter 14. Transcending the illusion of time, creating from the eternal now. In our journey of exploring the power of manifestation, we are often unconsciously bound by a seemingly immutable concept, linear time, an incessant flow from the past through the present and into the future. We wait, we hope, we set goals for someday. But what if this familiar perception of time is itself one of the greatest illusions of the human mind, a veil obscuring our true creative capacity? Profound truths from the discoveries of quantum physics and ancient spiritual wisdom are revealing that in the infinite field of possibilities, every version of reality, every desire you hold, does not lie in a distant future, but already exists simultaneously right here in the eternal now. Instantaneous manifestation, effortless creation comes not from waiting for something to happen in the future, but from fully owning, completely experiencing that desire as a presently existing reality in this very moment. It is this shift in perception and state of being that will collapse the seemingly immutable distance of time and powerfully bring your intention into substance. Esther was a patient woman. She had grand dreams of an abundant life, a career that brought joy and fulfillment. She pinned images of her dream house and distant travels onto her vision board. Every day she dedicated time to affirming those desires, believing that, with persistence, someday, those good things would come. She even crossed off days on her calendar, counting down to a future she hoped would be brighter. But Esther didn't realize that this very illusion of linear time and the act of waiting was a subtle trap. When you wait for something to manifest, you are anchoring yourself to that linear timeline and, inadvertently, creating the very delay you wish to overcome. You are implicitly affirming to the universe, it's not here yet, it's in the future. Years passed, and Esther's patience began to wear thin. Someday still seemed to be perpetually someday. A dull frustration crept into her mind. She couldn't understand why her efforts didn't seem to yield the expected results. She didn't yet know that in the vast quantum field, all possibilities exist simultaneously in the eternal now. Her desire wasn't something that needed to be created from scratch in a hazy future. It already existed like a melody waiting for her to tune into the right frequency, to hear and feel it. The secret lay in understanding and connecting with it, right in this now. One day, Esther happened to attend a talk by a renowned quantum physicist. What the professor shared completely changed her perception of time and reality. He explained, time as we typically perceive it, past, present, future, in succession, is largely a convention, a way our minds structure experience. In the quantum world, there is no such clear division. All possibilities, all potential timelines exist simultaneously. Time does not create events. Your focus and awareness do. The universe doesn't understand sooner or later in our way. It only knows now. It is your observation, your focused consciousness that collapses the quantum probability waves into the physical reality you experience. Those words were like an awakening bell for Esther. She realized that her waiting was actually dispersing her energy, keeping her desires in an unformed state of probability waves. She needed to shift from waiting to owning, collapsing the time gap with her own awareness. She began to understand that the universe doesn't respond to patience in the sense of passively waiting, but to the certainty of your possessing it in your consciousness right in the present. With newfound clarity, Esther completely changed her approach. Instead of visualizing her desire as something approaching in the future, she began to experience it as present and live as if it had already happened. When she thought of her dream house, she no longer saw it in the distance. She felt herself walking through its rooms, touching the objects, breathing the fresh air of its garden. When she thought of her ideal job, she felt the joy, passion, and contribution she was making right now. This shift in perception in her state of being created a breakthrough. Time seemed to bend around her consciousness. She no longer felt the burden of waiting, but instead the peace and joy of already having. And then magical things began to happen in Esther's life. The opportunities she had longed for suddenly appeared naturally. Relationships became more harmonious. The house she had always dreamed of, or an even more wonderful version, came to her in a way she could never have imagined. It wasn't because the time had come, but because Esther had quantumly aligned with a reality that already existed in the field of possibilities. She had become the observer who collapsed the probability wave into physical reality by living it fully in the now. So that you may personally experience the power of collapsing the illusion of time and creating from the present moment, here is a sacred practice. Sacred practice of collapsing time. Choose a desire or a goal you wish to manifest. Visualize it very clearly. Find a quiet space where you can relax completely and be undisturbed. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply and evenly, bringing your mind into a state of stillness of meditation. Now, instead of visualizing your desire as something that will come in the future, bring it fully into your present moment. Ask yourself, if this were my truth, right now, how would I feel? What would I see, hear, touch? Mobilize all your senses to experience that reality as if it is vividly happening around you and within you in this very moment. Most importantly, feel the surging emotions. Joy, gratitude, peace, contentment, as if you are truly living in it. Hold this state of already have it now with absolute certainty and unshakable faith. Let the feeling of this present reality permeate every cell in your body until all sense of a regretful past or an anticipated future dissolves, leaving only the eternal radiant and complete now. If thoughts of when it will come or how it can happen appear in your mind, gently acknowledge them, and then slowly return your focus to the present experience of the fulfilled desire. Practice this exercise regularly, especially in the morning or before bed, to train your consciousness to become accustomed to dwelling in this state of already is, already have. Whether you are amidst the bustling pace of Hanoi, where time seems to fly by at dizzying speed, or anywhere else in this world, remember that you always have the ability to create these time-collapsing moments for yourself. When you think of a goal, instead of asking, when will it come, pause and ask yourself, how would I feel and act if it were here with me right now? Try living one day or even just 1 hour as if your greatest desire has already become reality. Observe the magical shift in your emotions, your actions, and how you perceive the world. Release yourself from the pressure of time, because your greatest creative power lies not in the past that has gone or the future yet to come, but fully radiantly and potentially within this very present moment. Chapter 16. The Flow of Letting Go. Laura remembered the small garden behind her house where she once tried to hold on to butterflies. Every morning she would set out sweet saucers of honey and plant the most vibrant flowers, yearning to watch those delicate creatures dance in her own space. But the more she tried to capture them, the more she attempted to create a forced paradise, the more hesitant the butterflies seemed. They would only flit by like fleeting guests, then hurry away, leaving Laura with disappointment and a silent garden. She believed that if she created enough perfect conditions, they would stay. She wanted to control beauty, to possess freedom. The tension within her grew with each day the garden remained devoid of their fluttering dances. She fussed over every leaf, arranged every flower with an almost desperate meticulousness. She believed her efforts, her tight control, would bring results. But no, that control was like an invisible wall, a heavy energy that pushed what she longed for further away. One afternoon, after many exhausting days, Laura sank onto the grass, tears streaming down her face. She looked at her efforts, and for the first time she saw the suffocation in them. She saw her hands clenched, trying to hold on to things that inherently belonged to freedom. With a deep sigh, she decided to let go. She no longer put out the honey. She didn't try to plant more flowers according to a set plan. She simply let the garden be itself, allowing the sun and wind to play freely. A few days later, as she sat by the window with a cup of tea, her heart light and free of expectation, Laura suddenly smiled. A butterfly, then two, then a small swarm were leisurely flitting among the flowers. They landed naturally, without a trace of fear, as if the garden had finally been able to take a deep breath. Laura realized it was her letting go, her release from the need to control, that had opened the space for beauty to find its own way. The moment she no longer needed them to stay, they chose to stay. Laura's story of the butterflies is similar to Mark's experience with the passion project of his life. Mark was a talented architect, pouring all his mind and energy into a design for a new community center. He wanted it to be perfect, a legacy work, a symbol of his career. He worked day and night, obsessed with every minute detail, revising to the point where even his colleagues felt the pressure. He clung to his ideas fiercely, dismissing all suggestions, fearing that any change would spoil his original vision. Stress enveloped Mark. He became irritable, lost sleep, and ironically, his ideas seemed to become more and more stagnant. The design, though meticulously crafted, lacked vitality, lacked the soul he so desired. The more he tried to control, the more constrained and distant from his initial desire the result became. Desperation and the fear of failure began to creep in, creating a resistant energy that inadvertently repelled the very creativity he sought to grasp. Then one day, while strolling in a park seeking some quiet, Mark watched children playing. They built sandcastles with spontaneous joy, laughing when the waves washed away their unfinished creations, then starting anew without a care. An insight flashed within him. He realized he had been holding the project too tightly to the point of suffocating it. He had been pursuing perfection from a place of lack of recognition, lack of certainty. Returning to his office, Mark decided to do something different. He shared his design with his team, this time with genuine openness, inviting collaboration and new ideas. He still held a clear intention for a wonderful structure, but he released his grip on a specific outcome, a single form. He allowed the natural flow of creativity to circulate. Miraculously, fresh ideas began to pour in. Unexpected solutions emerged. The design was not only improved, but it also took on a new vitality, a harmony he couldn't achieve before. The project was ultimately a resounding success, not because of Mark's iron control, but because he had learned to let go and trust. The stories of Laura and Mark touch upon a profound truth about how the universe operates. Attachment, clinging, and desperately holding on to desires create resistant energy, inadvertently pushing away the very things you try to keep. The secret to easy and natural manifestation lies in non-attachment, the ability to maintain a clear intention for what you want, while completely releasing the energetic grip of need and attachment to a specific outcome, trusting in the natural flow and perfect completion by the universe. When you cling to anything, a relationship, a career goal, or even an emotional state, you inadvertently create an energy blockage. It's like trying to hold a stream of water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster the water slips away. But when you open your palm, the water gently gathers. The universe operates through a delicate balance of attracting, setting intentions, and releasing, allowing everything to find its rightful place. Many of us pursue our aspirations from a place of lack. We believe that achieving something external will fill an internal void, but pursuit implies absence. When you emit the frequency of lack, the universe in its infinite wisdom will respond by bringing more experiences of that lack. The key lies in shifting your focus. Instead of looking at what you don't have, cultivate a sense of fullness and the belief that what is truly meant for you will undoubtedly find its way to you at its own perfect time. It's crucial to understand clearly, non-attachment is not about abandoning desire. You absolutely have the right to have dreams, goals, and burning aspirations. Non-attachment means you trust in the perfect timing and manner of their fulfillment, freeing yourself from the burden of anxiety, impatience, and the pressure to have it at all costs. You hold your intention like a lighthouse guiding the way, but you release your attachment to how and when the ship must dock. There's a beautiful paradox encapsulated in the words of a wise elderly woman to a struggling friend. The moment you need nothing, everything will come. When you release the desperate energy of need, you touch a profound inner peace, and this peace, strangely enough, becomes an incredibly powerful magnet, drawing towards you the most suitable experiences, people, and opportunities. The true art of manifestation is this: desire without needing, pursue without clinging. You can have grand goals, sincere aspirations, but you do not let your happiness and wholeness depend entirely on achieving them. To help you practice this, here is a simple yet powerful ritual called the release ritual. Visualize clearly. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. Visualize your desire as vividly and clearly as possible. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, as if it has already become reality. Send forth your intention. Gently wrap that image like a precious gift and send it into the universe with all your love and trust. Release the grip consciously. Let go of all control, all clinging, all worry about the outcome. Imagine your energetic hand holding on to that desire, then slowly opening, allowing it to fly free. Affirm your trust with an open heart. Say silently or aloud, "What is truly for me will naturally flow to me at the sacred right time and in the most perfect way. I trust the flow of the universe." Return to the present. Carry that feeling of peace and trust into your daily life. Focus on living fully in the present moment, doing what needs to be done with love and dedication, but no longer obsessing over the outcome. True power lies not in trying to bend reality to your will, but in harmonizing with the natural flow of universal energy. When you stand in a place of peaceful certainty with a deep understanding that all you seek is already on its way to you, you become a powerful magnet, attracting miracles and the best things into your life. Do your part with clear intention and an open heart. Then trust and allow the universe to do its part. That is the path to easy, natural, and joyful manifestation. Chapter 17. Unconscious Expectations. The Hidden Architect of Reality. Eleanor was a talented painter, her works vibrant with color and brimming with emotion. She dreamed of a day when her own gallery would be bustling with admirers, her paintings cherished and finding new homes. She spent hours in her studio pouring her heart into every brushstroke, participating in small exhibitions, and sending her portfolio to countless galleries. She hoped fiercely for success. She longed for recognition. Yet Eleanor's reality was a series of gentle rejections, promises that faded into silence, and beautiful paintings quietly piling up in the corner of her studio. Disappointment seeped into her like an underground stream. She saw friends who seemingly didn't work as hard as she did receive the opportunities she craved. She wondered if she was unlucky or if the art world was simply too harsh. She redoubled her efforts, stayed up later, painted more, but the invisible wall separating her from her dreams seemed only to grow stronger. The stress came not from a lack of passion or diligence, but from an unnamed yearning, a vague feeling that something was deeply amiss within. One afternoon, while sorting through rejection letters, a thought suddenly flashed in Eleanor's mind, not a logical deduction, but a whisper from her depths. Perhaps I don't truly believe I will succeed. The thought stunned her. How could that be? Hadn't she dedicated her entire life to art, to this aspiration? But as she became truly honest with herself, she realized that beneath the layer of strong conscious desire was an undercurrent of doubt. She recalled casual remarks from her childhood that art is a precarious path, or only a select few can truly make a living by painting. Those words, though she had tried to dismiss them, seemed to have sown a silent expectation in her subconscious of difficulty of success being a distant, almost unattainable thing for an ordinary person like her. She hoped for success, but she expected struggle. This recognition brought not guilt, but a strange sense of relief, as if a veil had just been lifted. Eleanor understood that what she silently expected deep down, her assumptions, her core beliefs about herself and her artistic path, were the decisive factors quietly shaping her reality. They were like hidden ocean currents, far more powerful than the waves of desire crashing on the surface. Her efforts to change her external world, while ignoring the need to transform these hidden defaults, were like trying to row against that strong current. A similar story unfolded for Michael, a man who always longed for a deep and meaningful romantic relationship. He consciously desired to find a life partner to share his life with, to build a home. He actively dated, made efforts to connect, but his relationships often ended in a familiar pattern. After an initial period of passion, his partner would gradually become distant, or minor misunderstandings would escalate into major conflicts, leading to separation. Michael felt trapped in a painful loop. He often told himself, "I want true love." That was his conscious desire. But when he had the opportunity to work with a psychotherapist, he began to explore the deeper layers of his subconscious. He realized that from unhappy childhood family experiences, where affection was often unstable and vulnerable, he had unconsciously formed an expectation that true love is hard to find, or sooner or later people will disappoint me. Though his conscious mind craved connection, his unconscious expectation of instability and breakup always won silently, architecting the outcomes in his relationships that he did not want. When there is a conflict between conscious desire and unconscious expectation, the unconscious expectation will always have greater power to manifest. This is one of the subtle operating laws of the mind and energy. We need to shine a light within with courage and honesty to identify these contradictions. Self-honesty, though sometimes difficult, is the first and most crucial step towards inner harmony, thereby attracting experiences that truly reflect our authentic aspirations. Many people try to force change through sheer willpower or superficial manifestation techniques, such as repeating positive affirmations, while their inner world is still rife with conflicting negative beliefs. This is like painting a new coat on a wall that is moldy from within. The appearance may temporarily improve, but the root of the problem remains, and sooner or later, the new paint will peel. The key to true transformation lies in gently identifying and transforming the deepest expectations. This is the work of self-awareness, of listening to the voice of the subconscious and working with it with love and patience. There is an important distinction between hope and true expectation. A hope is what you wish for, long for at a conscious level. It can be a spark, a sense of optimism, but true expectation is what you feel is certain, familiar, most likely to happen at an unconscious level. It's formed from past experiences, deeply ingrained beliefs, and messages you've received from your environment. It is this deep-seated feeling of certainty that is the real magnet, silently drawing towards you the people, circumstances, and experiences that correspond to it. The true power to create your life lies not in straining with external effort, but in understanding and mastering the silent forces within our core beliefs and expectations. When we courageously confront, recognize, and transform these expectations in a positive, constructive direction, aligning them with our highest desires, our external reality will naturally begin to reflect that inner change. To begin the journey of discovering the true manifestation blueprint operating silently within you, try the following self-inquiry exercise. Self-inquiry exercise, uncovering hidden expectations. Choose an area. Select an aspect of your life where you feel a significant discrepancy between your conscious desires and actual results, e.g., career, finances, relationships, health. Find a quiet space. Sit down somewhere quiet where you can relax and be undisturbed. Take a few deep breaths to calm your mind. Question your subconscious. With compassion and without judgment, ask yourself, in this area, state the specific area, what do I truly, honestly expect will happen? Try to listen for the instinctive answer, the first feeling that arises, even if it seems negative or illogical compared to your conscious desire. What familiar feeling usually arises when I think about this area? If I am completely honest with myself, what deep core belief about myself, about others, or about how the world works is creating this expectation? Record and observe, write down any answers, images, emotions, or memories that surface. Don't try to analyze or change them immediately. The goal of this step is simply to identify and bring to light what is hidden. Do this with the curiosity and compassion of a scientist exploring new territory. Identifying these unconscious expectations is a powerful first step. It allows you to better understand the hidden architect shaping your life. From this understanding, with persistence and appropriate practices, you can begin the process of recalibrating that blueprint so that your silent expectations become increasingly aligned with the most radiant dreams your heart holds. Chapter 18. The Power of Being Over Doing. Virginia was a young, ambitious project manager who constantly craved recognition. She believed the key to advancement and respect lay in ceaseless doing more faster and more perfectly than anyone else. She was the first to arrive at the office and the last to leave. Her emails were always answered instantly, her reports meticulous down to the last detail. She volunteered for every project, trying to prove her competence and dedication. She did relentlessly, believing it was the only path to achieve what she desired. Yet despite all her efforts, Virginia felt like she was running on a hamster wheel. She was praised for her diligence, but significant opportunities, deep connections, and most importantly, the feeling of being truly seen and valued seemed to elude her. Instead, she often felt exhausted, stressed, and a simmering disappointment that her extraordinary efforts didn't yield commensurate results. Her striving, though powerful, seemed to create an invisible wall, a tension that made others feel more pressured than inspired. She was doing a lot, but who was she being in the process? She was the embodiment of effort, but also the embodiment of lack, of a secret longing to be filled from the outside. Virginia's transformation came not through a resounding success, but through a period verging on collapse. Overly tired and disillusioned, she was forced to stop. During those mandatory days off, she sought refuge in a quiet garden, with no goals, no to-do lists. She just sat there observing butterflies gently sipping nectar from flowers. They weren't struggling to get the sweet nectar. They simply were themselves beautiful, attractive creatures, and the nectar was naturally available to them. She watched flowers silently displaying their colors, attracting bees and butterflies, not by forced effort, but by their own vibrant existence. A subtle truth began to seep into Virginia. The universe and the reality around us respond more powerfully to who you are, being your inner state, energetic signature, your presence, than to what you try to do. Like a magnet, it attracts iron filings, not by reaching out to touch each speck, but by the invisible energy field radiating from its core. Effort, force, or action stemming from lack, from the fear of not being enough, usually only create more resistance. When Virginia returned to work, she was different. She still worked diligently, but her focus had shifted. Instead of endlessly doing to prove herself, she concentrated on nurturing her inner being. She dedicated time each morning to stillness, to connecting with a sense of peace and sufficiency from within herself before stepping into the whirlwind of work. She learned to listen more, to be more fully present in her communications, to share ideas from a place of authenticity rather than from a need for approval. She allowed her natural humor and warmth to shine. Something magical happened when Virginia stopped desperately trying to be approved of and instead focused on cultivating an authentic inner presence. Everything she had arduously pursued began to naturally find its way to her. Colleagues felt comfortable and inspired by her calm and confidence. Interesting collaborative opportunities arose not because she hunted them down, but because people were drawn to the positive and sincere energy she radiated. She realized that being true to herself, radiating natural energy from your core, possesses an invisible allure far more powerful than any polish or forced effort. Don't try to become someone else to be recognized. Be yourself most completely. True power and influence radiate from there. The masters and sages of old understood this profoundly. They knew that true transformation and manifestation in life come not from brute force or endless mechanical action, but from the silent power of presence and subtle energy. They didn't focus on changing the external world at all costs, but on mastering their inner world, knowing that when their state of being reached purity and harmony, external reality would naturally reflect it. When you focus on being peaceful, being loving, being abundant, being authentic, you automatically shift from a mode of chasing to a mode of attracting. What you desire, the experiences and people that match your vibrational frequency, will find their way to you naturally and easily, instead of you having to struggle and fight to obtain them. There is a natural order, a wise flow in the universe. Just as water always seeks low ground, or flowers always turn towards the sun when your state of being is harmonious and authentic, good things, opportunities, and blessings will naturally gravitate towards you. To connect more deeply with this pure state of being, and to allow your energy to naturally expand, inviting true manifestation to flow into your life, you can practice the following simple exercise. Stillness practice, connecting with the state of being. Find your space. Choose a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for a few minutes. You can sit comfortably in a chair or on the floor. Gentle with your breath. Close your eyes if you wish. Begin by noticing your breath. No need to change anything. Just observe the breath coming in, the breath going out. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen or chest. Shift. Attention to the feeling of existing. After a few minutes, gently shift your attention from your breath to the simple sensation of your own existence. Not thinking about who you are, what you do, or what you have. Just the feeling of, I am here, I exist, I am. It can be very subtle, like a silent awareness behind all thoughts and emotions. Abide in being. Don't try to do anything with this feeling. Simply rest in it. Allow yourself to simply be. If your mind wanders with thoughts, gently acknowledge them, and then return to the quiet feeling of existence. Even a few minutes each day of this practice will help you touch a deep inner strength. In that stillness, you not only find peace, but also touch a powerful center capable of shaping reality gently and profoundly from within. Remember who you are. Being each moment is the most powerful prayer, the clearest message you send to the universe. Choose to be the peace you seek. Be the love you crave. Be the abundance you deserve. And then observe the reality around you. Begin to reflect the beauty and strength of the authentic person you are becoming. Chapter 19. Energy Loops. Creating or obstructing the flow. Albert nurtured a simple dream to open a small bookstore in his neighborhood, a cozy space where book lovers could find resonance and soul-stirring stories. He had an intense love for books and a clear vision of that space, the scent of old paper mingled with coffee-long oak bookshelves and quiet nooks where people could immerse themselves in their own worlds. The flow of the universe seemed ready to support such a beautiful intention. However, every time Albert came close to turning his dream into reality, when he found a potential location or began drafting a business plan, a series of invisible stones would be cast into the clear stream of his desire. These were doubting voices echoing from the past. How can you compete with large chain stores? Who even reads paper books these days? Or a vague fear of failure, a secret belief that he wasn't good enough, not lucky enough to succeed. These thoughts, like stones, created disturbing ripples, disrupting Albert's energy and focus. Opportunities slipped away, procrastination crept in, and the dream of the bookstore was once again pushed back, submerged beneath the gentle waves of doubt he himself had created. Albert felt stuck, as if some invisible force were deliberately obstructing him. He wondered if the universe was rejecting his dream. But the truth is, the universe operates in a perfect flow, and it is our own energy, our thoughts, emotions, core beliefs that creates patterns or energy loops, which can either disrupt or harmonize with this flow. When manifestation is blocked, it's often due to resistance from your own energy, not the universe turning its back on you. You are the one who creates or inadvertently breaks your own flow. Sarah's story also reflects this profoundly. Sarah longed for a genuine partnership, a place where she could love and be loved completely. She often affirmed, "I am ready for true love," and she actively sought new connections. That was her conscious desire. Yet deep inside, after many past hurts, Sarah carried an unconscious belief that love always comes with pain, or "I don't deserve lasting happiness." When a potential relationship blossomed, this old energy loop would be activated. She became overly vigilant, looking for the smallest signs of imperfection, or inadvertently pushing the other person away with her fear of being hurt. Her words might speak of love, but her energy broadcasted signals of defense and doubt. She was like someone praying for rain while stubbornly holding on to an umbrella. This internal conflict between conscious desire and unconscious belief sent out mixed signals, creating interference in the universe's energy field. And it's no surprise that her reality frequently reflected her deeper belief, not her surface affirmation. Conscious affirmations have little effect if deeper limiting patterns are not identified and transformed. The greatest obstacles on the path to manifesting our aspirations are often not external factors, lack of money, opportunity, or support. The real barriers lie within ingrained beliefs of unworthiness, fear of success or failure, doubts about the universe's abundance and generosity, or imprints from unhealed wounds. These create negative energy patterns, self-sustaining loops that inadvertently repel the good things we earnestly desire. This is not any form of punishment, but simply a law of physics. At an energetic level, the energy you emit will attract experiences and circumstances of a corresponding vibrational frequency. But there is good news, a powerful truth. What you can see, you can change. The moment you realize that you yourself, through unconscious energy loops, are creating resistance, that is the first and most powerful step to begin the transformation process. Identification is not for self-blame, but to reclaim your creative power. Courageously look at the stones you might be inadvertently throwing into the stream of your life. It could be a familiar self-criticism, an ingrained fear, or a limiting belief you've carried for too long. After identifying them, you can practice releasing them with sincere intention and emotion. To proactively work with your energy release obstructive patterns and open yourself to the natural flow of abundance, you can practice the following cleansing ritual. Cleansing ritual, breaking old energy loops. Identify the stone. Take some quiet time to reflect on an area of your life where you feel stuck or your desires haven't manifested. Sense if there's a recurring thought, emotion, or core belief that acts like a stone obstructing the flow. Examples: I'm not good enough. Good things never happen to me. I'm afraid I'll lose it all if I succeed. Or a familiar feeling of anxiety or lack. Acknowledge and accept its presence. Once you've identified this energetic stone, gently acknowledge its existence without judgment. You might say silently, I notice a pattern of name the thought, emotion, belief present in me. This acknowledgement doesn't mean agreeing with it, but bringing it into the light of consciousness. Set the intention to release. With an open heart, set a clear intention that you want to release this energy pattern, to release its hold on you. You can say, I choose to release this pattern and all associated blocked energy right now. Visualize the release. Close your eyes and visualize that energetic stone. You might see it as a dark mass, a binding cord, or any image that comes to mind. Then imagine yourself gently removing it from your energy field. Perhaps you see it dissolving into light, being carried away by a stream of water, or you gently release it to float away like a balloon. Do this with a feeling of lightness and freedom. Fill the space with new energy. After releasing the old energy, visualize a stream of warm golden light, or any color that feels comforting to you, flowing into the newly cleared space. Affirm a new constructive belief or emotion. Examples: I am worthy of the best. The universe always supports me. I receive success and abundance easily. I am peaceful and confident. Feel the warmth and strength of this new energy spreading throughout your body. Express gratitude. Conclude the ritual by expressing gratitude for the release that has just occurred and for your openness to receiving new things. Be grateful to yourself for courageously doing this inner work. You are a powerful, energetic being, and you absolutely have the ability to change the loops that no longer serve you. By becoming a conscious observer of your own energy, and by practicing cleansing rituals with compassion, you can break old patterns, unblock the flow of life, and create a reality that reflects the deepest and most beautiful aspirations of your soul. Chapter 20. Transcending Techniques. Stepping in Knowing. Beatrice was a diligent student of the art of manifestation. Her journal was thick with meticulous entries, affirmations rewritten hundreds of times, elaborately crafted vision boards, detailed schedules for moon rituals, and long lists of proof, small signs she believed the universe was sending to confirm her desires were on their way. She longed for a flourishing career, a peaceful home by the sea, a deep love. She had tried countless techniques, attended numerous workshops, and read every book she could find. She was a dedicated practitioner, a tireless seeker. Yet beneath all those efforts lay an undercurrent of insecurity. Her hope was frequently tested by long silences, by results that fell short of her expectations. Each time a new technique failed to bring an instant miracle, she would feel bewildered, then dive into searching for another method, a more powerful affirmation, some yet hidden secret. Her peace depended on external signs, and her faith was as fragile as a candle in the wind. One afternoon, while wandering through an ancient botanical garden, her heart heavy with doubt after a week of deafening silence from the universe, Beatrice chanced upon an elderly woman sitting quietly on a stone bench, her gaze distant fixed upon a lotus pond. Something about her exuded an extraordinary peace and a calm strength, a self-possession that seemed unshaken by anything. Beatrice felt a strange urge, and she shyly struck up a conversation. She shared her manifestation journey, her efforts, hopes, and also her disappointments. The elderly woman listened with a gentle smile, her eyes shining with understanding. When Beatrice finished, she spoke softly, her voice gentle yet profound. "My child, all those techniques, those affirmations that hunt for evidence, they can be useful tools along a certain stretch of the path. But true mastery of manifestation doesn't lie in accumulating more tools." She paused, looking directly into Beatrice's eyes. "Your constant search for proof, your continuous experimentation with new techniques," she continued, "is itself evidence of a deep inner doubt. When you truly know something is your truth, you no longer need those life rafts." Her words resonated like a bell, awakening something within Beatrice. She had always thought believing was the ultimate goal, but this woman was speaking of something far beyond that. "There is a vast difference between believing and knowing," the woman explained. "Believing often comes with hope. It's a fragile bridge that can be shaken by the winds of doubt or delays from reality. But knowing is a state as solid as bedrock, an absolute inner certainty that requires no validation from the external world. It's like knowing the sun will rise each morning no matter how dark the night. You don't need to seek proof for it. You simply know." She looked at Beatrice with deep compassion. "As long as you waver between belief and doubt, you keep your dream at a distance. Doubt is a signal that you are still operating from an old paradigm where you feel separate from your own infinite creative power. True mastery requires a leap from the mind that constantly analyzes and seeks to a state of being, of pure knowing." Beatrice felt a powerful shift occurring within her. The woman's words touched the core of her lifelong search. "So how do I attain that state of knowing?" she asked softly. The woman smiled. "It's not something to be attained through another technique, my dear. It comes from an inner decision, a radical decision." She took Beatrice's hand, her voice growing stronger, yet still full of tenderness. "Either you are the creator of your life, or you are not. There is no in-between state. The moment you truly decide from the deepest core of your being that you are the creator and that what you have chosen is a completed truth in the energy field, then external reality has no choice but to comply." The essence of this message permeated every cell of Beatrice's being. Manifestation was not something to be strived for through external efforts, but a truth to be expressed from within. It began with a complete and unshakable acceptance of her own role as creator. When this decision was made at the deepest level of consciousness, change in reality was an inevitable consequence, as natural as breathing. The woman continued, as if reading the thoughts forming in Beatrice's mind. "Many people try to visualize this state or affirm that they already know, but those are still actions of the mind. There is a more sacred practice, a deeper transformation. It is to become that state of knowing." She explained, "The goal is not to repeat in your head that you already have what you want. The goal is to transform your very being so that every cell in your body vibrates with the unshakable certainty that it is already true. It is to live, breathe, and act from a version of yourself where the desire has been fully and completely fulfilled. You no longer try to believe, you simply are the embodiment of that truth. This is the deepest level of mastery, not just changing thoughts, but transforming the entire self. It is embodying a version of yourself that has transcended all need for external proof, because inner certainty has become the sole compass, the wellspring of all manifestation." When Beatrice left the garden, her journal seemed less important. A new stillness, a silent certainty had begun to take root within her. Her journey was no longer a hunt for techniques, but a discovery, a return to an inherent knowing, an inner power that had always been there, awaiting awakening by an unshakable decision. She understood that when you truly know, you no longer need to search. You simply become, and from that everything else will naturally fall into place. Part 3. You hold the key. Chapter 21. The illusion of barriers, the unlocked door. Raymond stood before the door of his life, a massive ancient oak door that seemed impenetrable. It symbolized his greatest aspiration, widespread recognition for the scientific research to which he had dedicated a decade. He believed that behind that door lay everything he desired: accolades, funding for future projects, and most importantly, validation for the value of his work. And so Raymond knocked. He knocked with meticulously polished scientific papers, with passionate presentations at conferences, with tireless letters to leading professors and prestigious organizations. He knocked with long, sleepless nights, with the sacrifice of personal joys. He pushed, he rattled, he searched for crevices, for secret keys he believed someone else held. But the door remained imposing, silent, and with each effort, it seemed to become even more closed, more steadfast in its inviolability. Raymond felt exhausted, disappointed, and a bitter doubt began to creep in. Was he not good enough, not worthy enough for this door to open? One day, while sitting in a park, his heart heavy with the weariness of his seemingly hopeless quest, Raymond noticed an old man leisurely tending to some rose bushes. The old man possessed a strange peacefulness. Every gesture exuded harmony, as if he and the garden were one. As if drawn by an invisible force, Raymond approached and began to share his story about the oak door and his relentless efforts. The old man listened, his kind eyes free of judgment. When Raymond finished, he smiled gently and pointed to a budding rose. "Young man," he said, his voice warm and deep, "does this rose need to knock on a door to display its beauty, or does it simply unfold, expressing its inherent loveliness when its time is right, when all conditions within it are complete?" Raymond was silent. The old man's words touched something deep within him. The old man continued, "The door you are trying to knock on, begging to be opened, is not actually locked. It is your constant knocking, your searching, your efforts to prove yourself, your pleading for permission from the outside that reinforces your belief that there is a real barrier, a separation between you and what you desire. The more you knock, the more closed the door appears, because you yourself believe you need permission to enter." A truth began to dawn in Raymond's mind. Sometimes our relentless efforts are the very thing that sustains the problem. We create barriers by our very belief in their existence. When you operate from a seeking mindset, you are implicitly affirming to the universe that you do not yet have that which you seek. And the universe, in its perfect reflection, holds nothing back. It simply responds to your inner state and your deep-seated beliefs. As the old man later told Raymond, your persistent demand, your agonizing desire for external recognition has created the very distance you wish to eliminate. As long as you are a seeker, you will continue to experience the absence of the very thing you seek. The lesson here is a subtle yet incredibly powerful shift, moving from a state of seeking to a state of being or embodying. The deepest truth of manifestation, one that many of us overlook in our race for external pursuits, is this: what you truly desire with all your heart and soul is already a part of you, already belongs to you on some energetic level. It is not something distant in the external world that needs to be seized or conquered. It is the very act of seeking and the belief in separation that creates the illusion that it is somewhere far off, requiring effort to attain. The old man looked at Raymond, his eyes holding the wisdom of ages. "The door only disappears," he said, "when you realize you were never truly outside it. What you seek, recognition, value, they are not behind that door. They are within you in the knowing of the value of the work you have created, in the peace that comes when you are yourself doing the work you love with all sincerity. So how do we transcend this illusion? How do we shift from requesting the door to open to embodying the truth that we are already inside? The universe does not respond to effort or worthiness, as we often define it by external standards. It responds to embodiment. When you live, think, feel, and act as if what you desire is already an existing truth in your life. This is where the sacred practice of knowing, which we touched upon in a previous chapter, is elevated to a new level: complete embodiment. Sacred practice: stepping through the invisible door. Identify the door, become aware of the door or barrier that you feel is separating you from your desire. It could be a belief, a fear, or a sense of lack. Question its truth. Gently ask yourself, does this barrier truly exist outside me, or is it a projection of what's happening within me? What would happen if there were no barrier at all? Decide the door isn't locked. Make a strong inner decision that no barrier can hold you back, that the door is in fact not locked, or perhaps doesn't even exist. You are already where you want to be. Embody the state of already is. This is the core step. Instead of trying to achieve, be the person who has already achieved it. Ask yourself, if my desire were already a reality, how would I feel right now? Allow yourself to fully feel that emotion: peace, joy, gratitude, confidence. How would I think about myself and life? How would I act today, from the smallest things to the largest decisions, if I were already that person living in that reality? Live from that truth. Bring this state of already is into every moment of your day. Speak as if it's true. Make decisions as if it's true. Feel as if it's true. This is not pretending. It is you aligning yourself with the vibrational frequency of the reality you choose. When you stop acknowledging the door's existence, stop focusing on the barrier, the lack, or the separation, and begin to live fully from the state of already is. Reality has no choice but to gradually align with your knowing and embodiment. Raymond, after that fateful encounter, stopped knocking. Instead, he focused on the pure joy of his research, sharing his knowledge with generosity and a firm belief in its value, no longer dependent on external validation. And then naturally, the doors he once thought were sealed shut began to open, not because he tried to break them down, but because he realized he had never truly been locked out. He had always been there, at the center of what he sought. Chapter 22. Pure Intention, the Power Beyond Words and Actions. Sarah sat quietly by the window, her fingers caressing a tiny dry seed she had just found in the garden. She thought about the magical journey this little seed held. Within its rough husk lay the entire blueprint of a vibrant flower, the promise of a beauty that would unfold. The seed doesn't need to try to become a flower. It doesn't need to announce its potential to the earth and sky, nor seek approval from other seeds. It simply knows what it is and what it will become in absolute stillness and certainty. For many years, Sarah had pursued her goals with relentless effort, with resounding affirmations and decisive actions. She believed that was the only way to create change, to turn dreams into reality. But often she found herself exhausted, and the results obtained seemed incommensurate with the effort expended. Now, gazing at the seed, a newer, more subtle truth began to sprout within her. She wondered, could there be a power even greater than effortful words and actions? The most powerful manifestation she began to sense comes not from complex rituals, not from repeating affirmations like a machine, nor from actions pursued to the point of exhaustion. It originates from something much deeper, from pure intention. This is a complete inner state of being, a knowing so certain that it needs no outward expression through words or display. Like the seed silently knowing what it is and will become, or like gravity operating in silence, governing the entire universe without a single declaration. The lesson the seed offered Sarah was simple yet profound. Shift your focus from doing and saying to being and knowing from the deepest core of your being. The universe responds to who you are and that state of existence. Abigail's story is another testament to the power of sacred silence. Abigail had a grand dream to build a community healing center, a peaceful sanctuary for souls in need of solace. She spoke passionately about her plans to anyone who would listen. She detailed her vision, defended her ideas against suggestions, and constantly sought approval and support from friends, family, and even strangers. She believed that speaking it out would make her dream a reality, that her enthusiasm would attract what she needed. Yet the more she talked, the more Abigail felt her energy become diluted. Differing opinions confused, her lack of support disheartened her, and her grand dream seemed to become increasingly complex and distant. She was like someone trying to hold water in her open hands. The more she tried to explain, to cling, the more the water slipped away. One day, after a particularly frustrating conversation, Abigail felt a strong urge to stop talking, to stop seeking external validation. She decided to hold the intention for the healing center in a sacred and silent space within herself. She no longer spoke of it. Instead, each day she dedicated time to stillness, to feeling the existence of that center as an already completed reality in her heart, nurturing it with unshakable inner certainty. She still took necessary steps quietly, but without the need to convince or seek agreement. And something magical happened. When Abigail stopped diluting her power with words, and external seeking, everything began to change naturally, without strenuous effort. The right people appeared, necessary resources found their way to her, and doors that had seemed tightly shut began to open. She realized that words can sometimes be weak. True power often lies in silence. The greatest manifestations frequently blossom in the stillness of a knowing soul, protected from the chaotic influences of the external world and nurtured by absolute inner faith. Endless discussion of desires seeking validation or trying to convince reality that you are worthy can dissipate the energy needed for manifestation. It's like constantly digging up a seed to see if it has sprouted, an act stemming from impatience and lack of trust, which only harms the natural process of growth. Confidence in your intention to the point where you don't need to speak it out or find agreement is itself an expression of inner strength and certainty. When you truly know something from deep within you, no longer feel the need to prove or explain it to the world. You simply hold it and allow it to manifest itself. When you reach this state of pure intention and inner certainty, manifesting your desires becomes natural and easy, like breathing without struggle or complex rituals. The grace and ease in manifestation, like Sarah's seed silently becoming a flower, come from a pure, unshakable certainty from within. This is a state that can be absolutely cultivated. To experience the power of the unseen, of pure intention held in silence, you can try the following sacred practice. Sacred practice incubating in silence. Choose a deep desire. Select an aspiration that is truly meaningful to you, something your heart sincerely yearns for. No words, no writing. Just hold in your heart. Instead of talking about it, writing it down or visualizing it in detail according to a specific technique, this time try a different approach. Bring that desire deep into the quiet space of your heart or into the core of your being. Feel its absolute completion. Hold that intention there in sacred silence. No analysis, no doubting, no looking for signs. Simply feel its complete fulfillment as an already established truth, a state that already exists deep within you. Feel the joy, the peace, and the gratitude of it already being yours. Nurture with silent certainty. Each day, take a few moments to return to this feeling, to this certain knowing. There's no need to do anything, just be with it. Regard this intention as your most precious seed, cherished and protected by you in absolute stillness and faith. Allow things to unfold naturally. Then step into your daily life carrying that silent certainty with you and allow the universe to operate in its own way. Trust that when your intention is pure enough and your knowing firm enough, what is necessary will naturally find its way to you. True power lies not in the noise of the external world, but in the stillness and depth of the inner world. When you learn to trust in pure intention and the power of silence, you will discover a path of manifestation that is more gentle, graceful, and profound than ever before, where your most beautiful aspirations can sprout and blossom naturally as an inevitable consequence. This chapter presents a powerful and transformative concept. Let's translate Bon Sac Di Truktantu, Chiahua, Kusu Biendoi. Ensuring this message about the primacy of identity is conveyed with clarity and impact for an American spiritual audience. Chapter 23, Identity Precedes Achievement, the Key to Transformation. Victor always dreamed of becoming an influential leader, a CEO capable of inspiring and creating positive change. He worked diligently, accumulated experience, and read countless books on management and self-development. He believed the path to that position was a long series of achievements to be conquered, rungs on a ladder to be climbed. He awaited a big opportunity, external recognition, to affirm that he was ready, that he was worthy. But as time went by, despite his relentless efforts, Victor still felt a vast distance from the CEO image he aspired to. He was like someone waiting for external circumstances to shape him instead of proactively shaping who he was from within. Victor's stagnation continued until one day he attended a talk by a wise teacher. The teacher didn't speak much about business strategies or leadership skills. Instead, he focused on a seemingly simple yet profoundly deep concept: identity. Many of us believe we need to achieve something, success, money, recognition, before we can become the person we wish to be. The teacher said, his voice warm and resonant. But the universe doesn't operate that way. The universe doesn't respond to what you try to do to acquire something. It responds to who you are being. He looked directly at Victor as if seeing straight through to his inner struggles. True transformation, the quantum leap in life, doesn't begin with external actions or waiting for some achievement. It begins with daring to change your identity from deep within. Instead of believing you need success to become worthy of a leadership role, the truth is you must first become that leader in your consciousness, in your very being, and then external reality will adjust itself to align with that new you. These words coursed through Victor like an electric current. He suddenly realized that all along he had been acting like someone trying to become a CEO, not like someone who was a CEO. After that talk, Victor didn't rush off to find more courses or success secrets. Instead, he embarked on an inner journey. He asked himself, how would the CEO I aspire to be think? How would he feel? How would he make decisions? He didn't just visualize. He began to live as if he already were that person. He walked with the confidence of a leader, spoke with the clarity and vision of a guide. In meetings, he was no longer an employee awaiting instructions, but proactively offered strategic ideas, breakthrough solutions, as if he were genuinely running a corporation. He treated his colleagues with the respect and encouragement a true leader would. The miracle was that as Victor changed his identity from within, the external world began to mirror that change. People started listening to him more, seeking his advice. Opportunities he had never before considered began to appear. He was no longer trying to impress. The very change in his being, in his presence, naturally attracted cooperation and new doors. He hadn't waited for achievement to define his identity. He let his identity lead, and achievement naturally followed. Victor's teacher once said something he never forgot: you are not waiting for your dream life. Your dream life is waiting for you. Time is not a linear line from past to future, as we often think. It is a field of infinite possibilities, and the version of you who has achieved everything you desire isn't in some distant future. Your future self exists right now in this moment, as a potential waiting to be activated. Step into it. This is the key. You have the ability to step into and embody that future version immediately by changing your state of being and your core identity. When you radically change your identity, you no longer follow the slow, linear path of incremental accumulation. Instead, you create a quantum leap, an almost instantaneous readjustment of reality to match your new state and vibrational frequency. You become the end result from the very starting point of that choice. Profound change can happen much faster than you think when you shift your focus from doing to have to being to have. The power to create breakthroughs, to make quantum leaps in your life, lies in your daring to live and embody the person you want to become, even when your current circumstances do not yet reflect it. To help you integrate this truth into your life practice, the following sacred exercise, not as a technique to achieve, but as a way to become sacred practice. Stepping into your future identity. Clearly define your future self. Take quiet time to visualize as clearly as possible the version of yourself who has achieved what you deeply desire. What qualities does that person possess? How do they feel about themselves and life? How do they think and act? Don't just observe from the outside. Try to feel it from within that person. Feel and step into that energy. Now invite the energy of that future self into you. Don't just imagine it, truly feel it. Feel the confidence, peace, joy, abundance, or whatever qualities that version possesses spreading through every cell of your being. Stand as they would, breathe as they would, smile as they would. Decide, I am that person right now. This is the most crucial step. Make a strong inner decision, a deep commitment from your core that you are that person from this very moment. This is not faking it till you make it, but the acceptance and embodiment of a truer, more powerful version of yourself, one that already exists as a potential. Act from the new identity. Having stepped into that energy and decided on your new identity, ask yourself, what would this person, my future version, do in my current situation? What choice would they make? What would they say? How would they start a new day? Then choose one action, however small, that this version would undoubtedly take, and do it immediately from that elevated consciousness. Acknowledge completion. Remember, this action is not for you to achieve the new identity. It is a natural expression of the new identity you have already accepted. The transformation is complete the moment you choose it to be so. Live each day from this knowing. When you dare to let your identity precede you, when you live from the person you choose to become right now, you not only change yourself, you are sending a powerful signal to the universe, inviting a newer, more extraordinary reality to align itself with the person you have chosen to be. That is the miracle of transformation from the core. Chapter 24, Beyond Belief, Stepping into the Realm of Absolute Certainty. Eleanor had been a practitioner of manifestation principles for many years. She was proficient in visualization techniques. Her affirmations were carefully chosen, and her belief in the power of intention was immense. She had witnessed significant successes, desires that had materialized in wondrous ways. Yet if she were truly honest with herself, Eleanor still sensed a subtle effort, a trying to believe, hidden deep beneath. Occasionally a tiny ripple of doubt, a fleeting wonder of, will this truly happen, would still creep in, and the anticipation of results still carried a hint of tension. Her belief was strong, but it was not yet an immovable mountain. One afternoon, while sitting in a park, Eleanor observed a child of about 3 playing. The child pointed to a swing and looked at her mother, her eyes devoid of any doubt, holding only a pure expectation that her mother would understand and lift her onto it. There was no pleading, no hoping that her mother would agree. There was only a simple certainty, an innocent knowing that her desire would be met. And just like that, the mother smiled, lifted her child, and placed her on the swing. In that moment, a profound insight illuminated Eleanor. She realized that no matter how strong belief is, it can still, even if only as an infinitesimal possibility, harbor the shadow of non-occurrence. The ultimate deciding factor for manifestation to become swift, easy, and almost automatic lies not in mere believing. It lies in a state that transcends it, absolute certainty. This is an unshakable knowing where you don't just believe something can happen, but you know with every cell, every breath of your being, that it is inevitable and on some level of reality, it has already happened. Like the farmer who sows a seed in the earth and knows with certainty in accordance with natural law that the seed will sprout and grow. Eleanor suddenly understood that the universe doesn't truly respond to what you hope for or even what you effortfully believe. It responds to what you know to be your undeniable truth. The shift is from trying to believe to knowing absolutely. On this journey, doubt is the only barrier, the final invisible wall. The universe in its infinite wisdom precisely mirrors your level of inner certainty. When all traces of doubt, however small, are completely eradicated from your conscious and subconscious mind, reality has no other choice but to comply and reflect that knowing. Those who can manifest almost instantaneously, those who seem to have magic at their fingertips, are not people with stronger beliefs than others. They are those who have transcended the realm of hope and belief to step into the dimension of pure knowing, where doubt becomes impossible, where the thought of a desire not materializing simply does not exist in their vocabulary. An ancient sage once said, "Those who receive their desires never question if they will manifest." They don't need to question because they know. The most important and also the most subtle work on this path of mastery is to eliminate every trace of doubt from its very root. When your certainty becomes absolute, manifestation is no longer a process to be monitored or strived for. It becomes a natural blossoming, like a sunflower always turning towards the sun. To step into this realm of absolute certainty, we need not only to change our thoughts, but also a deeper transformation at the energy frequency level. The sacred practice here is not just about changing words from doubt, "I hope this will happen," to affirmations of certainty, "This is done, this is my truth." Far more importantly, it's about you feeling that energetic shift from deep within your being, perhaps a warm, solid sensation in your solar plexus, a peace radiating from your heart, or a potent stillness enveloping your entire existence. When you speak declarations from this state, they are no longer affirmations trying to convince yourself or the universe. They become statements of a natural law, an immutable truth, like declaring that day follows night. The power lies not in the words themselves, but in the knowing, the unshakable certainty, and the pure energy frequency behind them. Train yourself to feel and embody the profound difference between hope and knowing, between a fragile wish and a command issued from a state of absolute certainty. Absolute certainty is not about blindly auto-suggesting or convincing yourself of something against which you still harbor much inner resistance. It is a recognition of what already is at a deeper level of reality. It is the acknowledgement of a truth that already exists in the infinite field of potential, like a perfect blueprint, merely awaiting your complete alignment of mind, emotion, and energy to be tangibly revealed in the three-dimensional world. Practice attuning your entire being to resonate completely with the frequency of absolute certainty of the truth that your desire is already fulfilled, already an inseparable part of who you are. Sacred practice, abiding in absolute certainty. Choose a clear intention. Identify a desire you have worked with and now wish to bring into the realm of absolute certainty. Transcend hope and belief. Acknowledge any remaining trying to believe, hoping, or anticipating. Gently set them aside without judgment. Access the already done state. Instead of thinking about it happening, shift your entire consciousness into the state of it having already happened, of it being true. What does that feel like? It's often not ecstatic excitement, but rather a profound peace, a quiet gratitude, a gentle sense of completion. Let that feeling permeate every cell. Locate the energy of certainty. Feel where this certainty resides in your energy body. Perhaps it's a solidity in your solar plexus, an expansion in your heart chakra, or a deep stillness throughout your entire energy field. Abide there. Declare from knowing if needed. If you wish to use words, let them flow from this state of knowing. It could be a simple, silent, "It is so," or "This is done." Feel the truth and immutable power in those words as if you are describing a natural law. Live from this knowing, carry this unshakable certainty into your daily life. When old doubtful thoughts try to surface, don't fight them. Gently return to this core of knowing, to the absolute certainty within you. When you no longer just believe in possibility, but you know with your entire being that something is unalterably true, you have stepped into a new dimension of creation. There is no struggle, no effort. There is only complete alignment with your intention, and manifestation becomes a natural outcome, an inevitable reflection of that unshakable inner state of knowing. Chapter 25. The universe responds to presence, not preparation. Thomas was a careful and meticulous planner. He nurtured a dream of building a model organic farm, a green oasis where he could live in harmony with nature and provide healthy food for the community. He spent years preparing. He read every book on sustainable agriculture, attended courses on land management, drew detailed farm layouts, calculated costs, and created countless contingency plans for every possible scenario. He believed that when everything was perfectly prepared, when he had enough knowledge, enough capital, enough certainty, then his dream would become a reality. However, Thomas's dream farm always seemed to be in some distant future. He constantly felt not ready enough, always one more thing to learn, another risk to calculate. His ceaseless preparation, though stemming from good intentions, inadvertently reinforced an underlying assumption that success and fulfillment were still ahead, that his present self was still lacking, still outside his dream home. He was like someone standing at the threshold of paradise, key in hand, yet endlessly polishing the steps and planning the entry, instead of simply opening the door and experiencing it. One afternoon, while reviewing his detailed plans, a quote he had once read somewhere suddenly echoed in his mind: "Your reality follows your assumption. Change the assumption." That sentence struck him like a thunderbolt, shaking the foundations of thought Thomas had built for so long. He realized that continuously making contingency plans or placing desires in a distant future, "When I have enough X, then I will do Y," was actually keeping his dreams at a distance. The universe doesn't respond to diligent preparation for success. It responds to presence you're embodying and living from the state of that success right in the present moment. Instead of standing outside the dream home and planning, the universe invites us to courageously step inside and live in it with our minds, emotions, and energy starting today. If you assume that your desire is still in the future or that you are not yet worthy of having it, then reality will patiently reflect that exact assumption. The power lies in changing your core assumption from "I am trying to have X," or "I will be happy when X happens," to "I am the person who has X," or "X is my present and natural reality." Honestly, examine the underlying assumptions operating within you. Are you living from an assumption of lack of waiting or of abundance and complete fulfillment? Living in the end result doesn't mean delusion or denying the physical reality before you. It means you fully occupy the energy, emotional state, and natural behaviors of a person who already possesses what you desire. This isn't pretense or fragile hope. It's you proactively shifting your entire field of awareness, your entire being, into the reality where your desire is an established truth. The operating principle here is subtle and powerful. The universe, or the quantum energy field, doesn't really differentiate clearly between what you vividly imagine, deeply feel with all your heart, and what you physically experience. When you fully immerse yourself in the state of completion, when you vibrate with the frequency of that abundance and joy, you create a powerful resonance that physical reality by natural law must gradually harmonize with and reflect. Feel it with all your senses. If your desire were true right now, how would you feel waking up each morning? What would you think? What actions and gestures would you make? What would your smile be like? What tone would your voice carry? Live from that state not as a rehearsal, but as an obvious truth. The sacred practice here invites you to go beyond mere imagination. It invites you to perform an inner reality adjustment. Sacred practice, living a day in your ideal reality. Clearly define your ideal day. Visualize a normal day in your ideal life where your deepest desire has completely become reality. It doesn't have to be an extraordinary day, but your new normal. Enter as the owner, not a guest. As you begin this practice, perhaps early in the morning before bed, or any time you have quiet space, step into that ideal day, not as a curious visitor on a tour, but as the person actually living there, as if it is your familiar life. Experience with all senses. Feel, what bed do you wake up in? How do the sheets feel, the temperature in the room? What's the sensation under your feet as you walk? Feel the peace, joy, freedom, or whatever emotions dominate that ideal day. Hear, what sounds do you hear? Birds singing soothing music, loving laughter, or a comfortable silence? See, what are your surroundings like? The colors, the light, the objects, the people you meet. See with the eyes of someone who already possesses all these things. Move and interact. How do you move in that space with confidence, leisure, certainty? How do you interact with others if they are part of your ideal day? Live from the assumption of fulfillment. Most importantly, carry the assumption that all of this is your present reality. There is no wishing or hoping here, only being, to become the new normal. Let this state of living in the end result gradually become the new normal in your consciousness. Frequently return to it throughout the day, not as a forced exercise, but as a remembering of who you truly are, the person who already has these good things, the person living their most wonderful version fully. When Thomas began to practice this, instead of just planning, he started to live his day as if he were already the owner of a thriving organic farm. He felt the joy of harvesting fresh vegetables, inhaled the scent of damp earth. After a rain, heard the laughter of people visiting the farm. Gradually, the heaviness of preparation dissolved, replaced by a lightness and a firmer belief. And then the opportunities, the help, the necessary pieces began to appear, not because of his perfect plans, but because the universe was responding to the presence, the vibration, and the new assumption of the person he had chosen to become. Chapter 26, The Storm Before the Dawn, The Test of Certainty. Leonard had come a long way. After years of nurturing his dream and tireless effort, his project to establish a non-profit art academy for underprivileged youth was finally about to take shape. He had found a wonderful building. Major donors had committed their support. A team of talented teachers was ready, and the opening day was just weeks away. Everything seemed to be unfolding perfectly, like a beautiful symphony of synchronicity and good fortune. Leonard was filled with joy and gratitude, believing that his vision was finally about to become reality. And then the storm hit. Suddenly and unforeseeably, his main donor announced their withdrawal due to their own unexpected financial difficulties. Simultaneously, a few key teachers received attractive offers from elsewhere and decided to leave. The building he had secured became entangled in complex legal disputes. Within a week, the entire structure Leonard had painstakingly built seemed to be collapsing before his eyes. From the pinnacle of hope, he plunged into the abyss of despair. Why now, he wondered, when everything seemed within reach? He felt as if the universe were taunting him, snatching away his dream just as he was about to grasp it. In his despair, Leonard wandered to an old park where he often found solace. He sat on a stone bench watching the leaves fall, his heart heavy. An elderly man with silver hair and kind eyes was sitting nearby and seemed to sense his sorrow. He gently struck up a conversation, and Leonard, overcome with emotion, poured out his story, his hopes, and the sudden collapse. The elderly man listened in silence, then nodded slowly. "Young man," he said, his voice deep and warm, "just before a major manifestation is firmly anchored in physical reality, there often appears a period where everything seems to spin out of control, collapse, or go entirely contrary to your desires. That is not a sign of failure, as many mistakenly believe. It is the universe's final test, a sacred challenge to your certainty and commitment to the vision you have chosen." Leonard looked up, surprised. "A test?" "Indeed," the man continued. "These outwardly chaotic, devastating moments are not meant to hinder you. They come to test your alignment, your steadfastness. The universe is gently asking, how truly certain are you about this? Can you hold your vision and your faith when faced with a hurricane? Overcoming these tests will help you consolidate your inner strength, eliminate the last remaining specks of doubt, and graduate to a higher level of manifestation mastery. Instead of viewing these difficulties as obstacles, recognize them as opportunities to demonstrate your unshakable faith and ironclad commitment." The man looked deeply into Leonard's eyes. "How you react when faced with this apparent collapse will determine whether you solidify your manifestation or whether you surrender and have to restart the cycle. True masters, those who have understood this law, recognize these as perfectly orchestrated opportunities to demonstrate their absolute certainty. Most people fail this test. What about you?" That question breathed new life into Leonard. He realized he was at a critical juncture, either sink into disappointment and give up, or stand firm, facing the storm, with an inner certainty even stronger than before. He was not a victim of circumstances. He was being initiated. Moments that seem like complete failure, the most ferocious storms, can actually be gateways to your next level of power and understanding. They are not the end of the journey, but an essential part of the process of unfolding and tempering. When faced with such daunting challenges, when everything external seems to be screaming that you have failed, remember the sacred practice of steadfastness. Sacred practice standing firm in the eye of the storm. Acknowledge the storm, but don't drown. Be aware of the difficulties, the challenges unfolding externally. Acknowledge your emotions, fear, disappointment, anger, but do not let them submerge you. You are the observer of the storm, not the storm itself. Recognize this as an initiation instead of automatically labeling the situation as failure or tragedy. Take a deep breath and realize this is a test. This is an initiation. This is my opportunity to demonstrate my certainty. Return to inner stillness. Find a quiet place, even if only for a few minutes. Close your eyes, focus on your breath. Reconnect with the feeling of your fulfilled desire, with the absolute certainty you cultivated before. Recall that sense of peace, abundance, and faith. Declare unshakable certainty from this place of inner stillness and strength, silently or aloud, clearly and powerfully reaffirm your truth. Despite all outer appearances, I know that state your desire clearly is already mine, already complete my unshakable reality. This storm is only a temporary illusion and has no power over my true state of being and what is divinely mine. Hold your vision with serenity. Continue to hold the image of your fulfilled desire in your mind and heart, but with serenity, a detachment from the dramatic fluctuations of the current circumstances. Don't try to resist or force change in the outer illusion. Your work right now is internal, to hold fast to your knowing, your certainty. Be grateful for inner strength. Express gratitude for this opportunity to prove your strength, faith, and unwavering commitment to your vision. Be grateful to yourself for not succumbing. Leonard left the park with new resolve. He no longer saw the obstacles as barricades but as stepping stones to climb higher. He sat down not to frantically plan how to deal with each problem, but to reconnect with his absolute certainty about the mission of the Art Academy. He held fast to that vision, declared its truth despite all external chaos. And then unexpected things began to happen again. Another philanthropist, hearing of his plight through a friend, offered to provide funding. Several passionate young teachers looking for an opportunity to contribute contacted him. The legal issue with the building also found an unforeseen resolution. The storm did not last forever. And when it passed, Leonard not only saw his academy take shape, but he also felt an inner strength, a self-possession he had never known before. He hadn't just passed the test, he had graduated. Trust that there is a deeper meaning behind seemingly insurmountable challenges. The storm before the dawn is not meant to extinguish your light, but to make it brighter, purer. Your steadfastness, your unshakable certainty, will be the lighthouse that guides you through all tempests, stronger and more grounded on the path to mastering your own destiny. Chapter 27. The Ultimate Secret: Being, Not Doing. Dorothy sat in her quiet garden, a serene smile gracing her lips. The gentle golden afternoon sun filtered through the leaves, creating shimmering patterns of light on the ground. She was no longer the hurried, anxious woman with a notebook full of goals and manifestation techniques to practice. That woman who had once tirelessly done things to try to attract, to hold on, to achieve, seemed to have dissolved. In her place was a new Dorothy, one who radiated a quiet strength, an inner sufficiency, a person who no longer needed to try to become anything else. She recalled her long journey, the years of searching, hoping, then being disappointed, the storms that had seemingly threatened to engulf all her efforts. She had once believed the key lay in performing the right steps, saying the right affirmations, and strenuously holding on to belief. But now, looking back, she recognized a deeper truth, an ultimate secret she had inadvertently touched upon. After all the highs and lows, the pinnacle, the ultimate secret of manifestation, lies not in the actions you do to attract your desires, but in who you are being. True power, the power to create extraordinary realities, comes not from how many rituals you perform or how many affirmations you repeat. It originates from you becoming the version of yourself for whom the things you once intensely craved are now a natural, inseparable part, an inevitable reflection of their being. The transformation Dorothy had undergone transcended the mere manifestation of specific desires. It was an alchemical shift in identity. When you fully step into and merge with the energy of your highest self, the self that already experiences all you once wished for, you no longer feel the need to pursue anything from the external world. The universe, in its perfect harmony, naturally rearranges itself to align with the new person you have become. Think of a master pianist. When they sit before the keys, they don't wonder if they can play a difficult piece. They don't try to create music. They simply play, and magnificent music flows through them naturally. That virtuosity, that mastery, is not something they do. It is who they are. The identity of master pianist has permeated every cell, every thought, every movement. The ultimate goal of this journey is not merely to get external things, a beautiful house, a perfect relationship, or a brilliant career. It is an opportunity for us to undergo a complete inner transformation, to upgrade our identity to a level where we naturally attract and align with the best, most authentic gifts life has to offer. Dorothy smiled as she remembered the days she spent diligently pursuing. She realized that her previous manifestation efforts, her relentless hunting for signs and proof, had inadvertently kept her stuck in the energy of seeking, of lack. Because implicitly, pursuit always affirms the absence of that which is pursued. The moment she truly became the peaceful, abundant woman who, at a deep level of her being, already had everything she once desired, the seeking naturally vanished. There was nothing left to seek. "I no longer pursue," she had once told a close friend, her voice filled with a profound peace. "I simply am." When you are complete. And that completeness, that inner sufficiency itself, possesses a powerful attraction, a vibrational frequency that harmonizes with the very best of the universe. So how do we step into this state of being, where manifestation is no longer an effort, but becomes a natural flow like breath itself? The sacred practice here is no longer a technique to do, but an invitation to live, to exist. Sacred practice, stepping into pure being. Recognize your true nature. Take quiet moments to contemplate that the version of you, the one who is fully alive, abundant, embodying all noble qualities and deepest dreams, is not a distant ideal in the future to be strived for. It is your true nature, a radiant potential already existing within, merely waiting for you to recognize it and allow its full expression. Release the effort to become, with gentle acceptance, consciously and gradually let go of all trying, all effort to become. Free yourself from the burden of having to prove, to achieve, to be someone other than who you are in this very moment. Relinquish the role of seeker or striver. Abide in simple being. Allow yourself to rest in pure being. It is a state free of judgment, comparison, and wanting. There is only presence and awareness of yourself as a complete being right here, right now. This being is not a passive or empty state. It is a state of latent power, of stillness, containing all potential. Let life flow from this core as you abide in being. Allow your thoughts, emotions, and actions to flow naturally from that peaceful and abundant core. You will find that your choices, your words, the things you do will naturally harmonize with what is best for you and for the universe, because you are that harmony. Observe natural manifestation. Trust that as you live from this state of being, as you no longer create ripples of lack or effort, the universe will naturally reflect that inner reality back to you. Manifestation is no longer something you have to do. It becomes a natural result, a gentle ebbing and flowing of life, like the breath moving in and out. The highest form of manifestation requires no effort, because you have become the very essence, the very energy of what you once sought. You no longer chase desires from the outside. You have fully integrated with them from within, because they are you and you are them. As Dorothy watched the last rays of sunlight dance in her garden, she no longer saw herself as someone waiting for or wishing for anything. She felt a profound union with all that surrounded her, an unshakable peace. She was no longer doing to manifest. She simply was, and in that being, all the beauty, joy, and abundance of life seemed to find their way to her, like dear friends returning home. That is the ultimate secret, simple yet grand, awaiting each of us to discover and embody. Chapter 28. The Law of Reversed Effort. The more you strain, the further it slips away. Francis was a man of iron discipline and tireless dedication. A writer, he harbored the aspiration to create a novel that could touch the hearts of millions, a defining work for his legacy. For years, he subjected himself to a grueling work schedule, waking at the crack of dawn, writing continuously for hours, deleting, rewriting, and poring over every word and phrase with an almost ascetic rigor. He believed that only relentless labor, straining beyond all personal limits, could produce a masterpiece. He read about great writers, their discipline and sacrifices, and he tried to emulate them. However, Francis's novel seemed to make no progress. His pages, though meticulously crafted, lacked vitality, lacked the soul he yearned for. He felt depleted, his ideas blocked, and a quiet desperation grew within him. The more he tried to push himself, the more he strained to produce perfect pages, the further he felt from his inspiration, from the very story he wanted to tell. His effort, though immense, contained a tension, an invisible resistance that was repelling the very thing he craved. One day, on a short trip to find some balance, Francis chanced upon an elderly woman at a small lakeside tea shop. She possessed a serene presence and a wisdom that radiated from her kind eyes. Noticing Francis's pensive and weary look, she gently struck up a conversation. As if unburdening his heart, Francis shared his struggle with the written word, his relentless efforts that failed to bring the desired results. The woman listened, then said softly, "Young man, there is a mysterious and incredibly powerful law in this universe, one that many of us often inadvertently go against. It is the law of reversed effort. The more tensely you strive, the more you force yourself to manifest something, the more you unintentionally create resistance and push away the very thing you desire." She looked out at the calm lake where gentle ripples formed when a light breeze passed. Imagine you are trying to hold water in the palm of your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster the water slips through your fingers. But when you gently open your palm, relax, the water rests there easily. Creation and manifestation operate in a similar way. Francis was stunned. He had never thought about effort in that way. The woman smiled, a smile filled with deep understanding. "I see you have been very diligent, very disciplined. But ask yourself, does your effort stem from tension, from a fear of not being good enough, from the pressure to succeed? I have a little secret to share with you. A truth that can break old patterns. Ease creates speed." "So ease creates speed," Francis repeated, still skeptical. "Indeed," she affirmed. "When you loosen your grip, when you allow yourself to be in a state of comfort, relaxation, and receptivity, everything begins to flow naturally and much more quickly than you can imagine. Ease, lightness, and effortlessness are the optimal states for great ideas to arise, for manifestation to occur harmoniously. Prioritize cultivating inner comfort. When you feel comfortable and peaceful within, you are opening the pathway for the best things to come to you." She looked at Francis with a tender gaze. "You are torturing yourself, pursuing what is already a part of you, waiting to be expressed naturally. The universe doesn't respond to the degree of your trying or struggling. It responds to your harmony. When you struggle, when you are tense, you are emitting the energy of lack of separation. But when you go with the flow, when you relax and trust, you are radiating the frequency of abundance, of readiness to receive." The woman's words were like cool water upon Francis's parched soul. He began to realize that his own straining was the barrier. He needed to learn the art of letting go and effortless receiving. To practice this, to shift from struggling to get, to harmonizing to receive, you can experiment with the following sacred practice. Sacred practice melting into receptivity. Identify areas of tension. Become aware of areas in your life or specific desires where you feel you are straining, trying too hard, or experiencing significant stress and frustration. Conscious breathing and relaxation. Sit or lie down comfortably. Inhale deeply, and as you exhale, consciously release all tension in your body and mind related to those desires. Visualize the grip, the holding slowly loosening, melt into soft receptivity. Imagine your entire being melting into a state of softness, openness, and complete receptivity. Release all need to control, to force, to strive in any particular way. Visualize your palms opening, your heart expanding. Visualize easy flow. Instead of picturing yourself chasing or grasping your desire, imagine it gently floating towards you like a leaf on a gentle stream or a fluffy cloud drifting across the sky. You don't need to do anything. Simply be there, open and ready for it to come to you. Imbibe the truth. Ease creates speed. Gently repeat this phrase in your mind. Ease creates speed. Feel the truth and the liberation in it. Allow yourself to feel completely comfortable, relaxed, and peaceful in this present moment, trusting that this very state is the most powerful magnet for good things. Soften and trust. Completely let your entire being soften. Trust in the universe's perfect timing, in the infinite abundance that is always available. Know that what is truly meant for you will naturally find its way to you as easily as water flows to low ground when you are in a state of relaxed harmony and allowing. Francis returned from that trip with a new awareness. He didn't give up writing, but he gave up the straining. He allowed himself breaks, leisurely walks, moments to simply be, not do. He wrote when he felt the flow arrive, and he stopped when he felt the need to rest, no longer berating himself. And then miraculously, ideas began to flow again. His words became more vivid, and his novel gradually took shape not from force, but from a comfortable and natural creative joy. He had learned that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in trying to hold on, but in daring to loosen the grip and trust the flow. Chapter 29. Dissolving the illusion of separation. You are the universe manifesting. Henry had spent many years on the path of spiritual discovery. He had practiced meditation, studied ancient philosophies, and experienced wondrous moments of manifestation in his life. He had learned to master his thoughts, navigate his emotions, and trust in a greater power operating the universe. Yet despite achieving profound peace and understanding, a subtle sense of separation still lingered within him, a small Henry trying to harmonize with, negotiate with, or plead to a vast universe outside himself. Until one autumn afternoon, as he sat quietly beside a lake as still as a mirror, watching golden leaves gently fall. There was no particular effort, no technique applied. Only stillness, observation, and complete letting go. And then, in an unexpected, unannounced moment, the feeling of Henry, of the personal self, with its limitations, anxieties, and individual desires, suddenly dissolved. It wasn't a loss, but an infinite expansion. He no longer felt like a separate entity looking out at the lake. He was the lake, he was the golden leaves. He was the gentle, caressing breeze. He was the vast sky reflecting itself. There was no division, only one single consciousness, one single life experiencing itself through myriad forms, and Henry was merely one of those expressions. The illusion of separation had vanished, and in that moment everything changed. He no longer felt he had to negotiate with or beseech an external universe, because he realized a most fundamental truth, one often obscured by the busyness of daily life. You are not a separate entity detached from the universe. You are the universe experiencing and manifesting itself through your human form. Look beyond the limits of your physical form to feel the vast infinite consciousness that animates you. You are the force of creation. When this truth permeates every cell, you will realize that the creative power you once hopelessly sought in the external world has, in fact, always resided fully within you. Because you are the universe, you do not need to plead with or attract some distant force to manifest your desires. You realize that you yourself are that force, the conduit through which all things are born and appear in reality. This carries a profoundly deep implication. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your very presence are shaping reality, because you are reality shaping itself. When you breathe, it is the universe breathing through you. When you have an intention, it is the universe having an intention that wishes to manifest through you. Trust absolutely in this inherent sacred creative power within. Manifestation is no longer about pulling in something from the outside, but about allowing to flow naturally from your deep universal essence. And then another wondrous truth will unfold. You are the seeker. You are the seeking itself, and you are also that which is sought. When your identity with the universe is fully realized, you will see that there is no real division at all. The small I seeking happiness, peace, or abundance will realize that it itself is a part of that infinite happiness, peace, and abundance. All are different aspects, different expressions of the same vast universal consciousness. At that point, all external pursuit can cease, because you have found, or rather recognized, that completeness right where you are within your very being. Living from this oneness is not an abstract, elusive state. It is an experience that can be cultivated, a return to your true nature. The sacred practice here is an invitation to expand your awareness, to feel your connection and identity with all things sacred practice. Feeling universal oneness, abide in stillness. Find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably and undisturbed. Close your eyes and let your breath become gentle and natural. Breathe with the universe. Become aware of your breath. Feel that the air you inhale is not just your own, but the shared air of the entire planet, connecting you with every living creature. As you exhale, feel yourself giving back to the universe. Feel the universe breathing with you, and as you expand awareness, outward, slowly, gently expand your field of awareness beyond the limits of your physical body. Feel the space around you. Feel the support of the earth beneath your feet. Feel the vastness of the sky above. Don't just think about them. Feel them as a part of yourself. Feel the shared life source. Feel the life energy, the consciousness that animates your body. Then try to feel that same life energy, that same consciousness present in everything around you. A tree, a flower, a pet, another person, or even distant stars. Recognize that it is the same life source, the same consciousness, merely expressing itself in different forms. Dissolve boundaries in mind and energy. Visualize the fragile, invisible boundaries between self and not self, gradually blurring, permeating, and dissolving. Feel yourself merging into the common energy field of all things. You are no longer a small drop in the ocean. You are the ocean experiencing itself in the form of a drop. Recognize inherent creative power. From this space of vast and unified awareness, acknowledge that the infinite creative wisdom of the universe is your wisdom. The power of the universe is your power. True desires and aspirations arising from this state are no longer those of the small I. They are the impulses of the universe itself, seeking expression and experience through you. From this space of awareness, creation no longer requires strenuous effort. It flows naturally, gently from your very state of being. All limits, all barriers you once perceived were merely illusions created by the belief in separation. Regularly take time to rest in the truth of your universal nature. Feel the ancient, boundless creative power stirring and flowing within, ready to manifest through your desires and intentions. Desires and intentions you now recognize as sacred impulses of the universe, seeking to express itself. When you know that you are the universe, you no longer need to seek anything. You simply allow the universe to be itself through you. And that is ultimate freedom, peace, and creative power. This chapter feels like a beautiful homecoming, the culmination of a profound journey. Let's translate Sutim Kiam Ketuk Ki Bantro Tendiu Bang Tim Kim, aiming to convey this ultimate sense of peace, fulfillment, and the dawning of a new way of being for an American spiritual audience. Here is the translation, Chapter 30. The search ends when you become what you seek. Eleanor sat on her porch, a warm cup of chamomile tea in her hands, watching the sunset dye a corner of the sky purple. A profound, rippleless peace enveloped her. Gone were the long lists of things to manifest. Gone were the rituals to be mechanically practiced. Gone was the restless yearning of someone constantly searching for something in the external world. The search had ended. Not because she had found everything she once desired in some specific way, but because something far more wondrous had occurred. She had become the very person for whom her deepest aspirations were no longer distant goals to be conquered, but a natural part, an inevitable reflection of her being. She smiled, remembering the Eleanor of many years past, a woman full of enthusiasm but also much confusion, always trying to do so many things in hopes of changing her life. That woman was no more. Not that she had been lost, but she had been transformed, metamorphosed. Now, when Eleanor looked in the mirror, she no longer saw someone trying to find the answer. She saw someone who had become the answer. The true destination of the journey of manifestation and self-discovery is not that you collect everything you want, but that you undergo such a profound transformation of identity that you become the very person whose aspirations are a natural, inseparable part of you. Then naturally and gently, the external search itself comes to an end. When you have lifted the veils that obscure the truth about the nature of reality and your authentic self, a deep and irreversible transformation has taken place. It's like the first time a person who has only ever lived in a black and white world beholds the brilliance of a rainbow after a storm. Their mind and perception can never revert to the old limitations, the old ways of seeing. You have touched an eternal truth about your being, a truth that will forever illuminate your path. The old self, the person full of doubts and fears, the one who constantly felt lacking and ceaselessly sought external validation, has gradually dissolved not through struggle, but through deep understanding and acceptance. It has given way to a greater understanding, a grander self, a being that has recognized its true origin. Trust in the sustainability of this awakening. Once the veil of ignorance has been lifted, you can no longer unsee, even if old habits may occasionally try to invite you back. The deepest transformation, the final enlightenment on this journey, can be summarized in a simple sentence. Eleanor whispered to herself one pristine morning as she fully felt her union with the universe. I have remembered who I am. This is not about learning new knowledge or absorbing some lofty philosophy. This is a remembering, a recollection of your inherent sacred, creative, infinite, and universal nature, which has always been there at your very core, but was obscured by the mists of limiting beliefs, fears, and the illusions of separation. The consequence of this remembering is extraordinary. When you realize your true nature is love, is light, is the boundless creative force of the universe, then doubt becomes impossible, just as darkness cannot declare itself separate from light, or a wave cannot deny it is part of the ocean. The eternal truth about you will naturally flow through all your thoughts, words, and actions without any effort once you have truly remembered. You have crossed an important threshold in your life, as if you have walked over a bridge, and that bridge has dissolved behind you. There is no returning to the old limitations, the old illusions of a small, helpless self. The beliefs that imprisoned you for years have crumbled like old walls falling down, revealing before you the infinite vastness of possibilities always awaiting your embrace, awaiting your expression. The sacred practice at this stage is no longer an exercise to achieve something, but a complete living from the truth that has been revealed. Sacred practice, fully living as the one who has remembered. Acknowledge the transformation that has occurred. Take moments each day to quietly acknowledge the profound transformation that has been and is taking place within you. This is not the ego's pride, but a reverent recognition of the awakening of your true nature. Release the old self with gratitude, with love and compassion, consciously and gently. Release any remaining identification with the old self, the one who sought, doubted, feared. Thank that version for all the valuable lessons it brought, and then with a smile let it go like clothes that no longer fit. Steadfastly embrace who you have become. Courageously and steadfastly embrace the person you have become, the one who has remembered, who has realized their oneness with the creative power, who has become the very thing they once sought. Live from this truth every day. Live from absolute certainty and knowing. Let every step you take, every word you speak, every action you perform be imbued with the deep certainty and knowing that comes from this remembering. No more hesitation, no more doubt, only the clarity and power of truth. Trust the natural flow. You no longer need to try to control or force anything. Trust that life will continue to unfold before you perfectly, faithfully, reflecting the person you have remembered yourself to be. What needs to come will come. What needs to go will go all within a sacred and perfect order. The search has truly ended, not because you found all the answers outside yourself, but because you have returned to yourself, where all answers have always resided. The bridge leading to the past of limitation and illusion has dissolved. Now there is only the open road ahead, the path of living fully your authentic, radiant, and infinite nature. This is not an end. This is the true beginning of a life lived from freedom, love, and boundless creative power. Epilogue. When the book closes, your journey begins. Dear friend, as the final pages of this book draw to a close, there is one important thing I wish for you to remember. This is not an endpoint, but rather a glorious beginning. The knowledge, the stories, and the sparks of wisdom you have gathered throughout this journey are not a destination, but foundational tools, sacred seeds, for you to begin creating a more radiant, more meaningful reality for yourself. True mastery of the universe's laws and your own inner power will not come overnight, but will unfold gradually with ever-deepening, more subtle insights through each of your life experiences. Consider this a new chapter, a new page in your life where you are the one actively applying, exploring, and contemplating. Once you have glimpsed, even if only for a moment, and begun to understand the core truths about the nature of reality, about the intimate connection between consciousness and creation, your perception has changed irreversibly. Like a person seeing light for the first time after years of living in darkness, you cannot go back to seeing the world through old eyes filled with the limitations and doubts of before. You cannot return to deep slumber once you have truly awakened. The old patterns of doubt, fear, and the feeling of being a victim of circumstances have begun to dissolve, making way for an ever-strengthening certainty in the sacred creative power dormant within you. Trust in the profound transformation that has been and is occurring within your being. It is real, it is powerful, and it is enduring. The journey of mastering life, mastering energy, and mastering manifestation is an endless and continuous one, much like this very universe, ceaselessly expanding and evolving. The universe will never stop loving you and teaching you through every moment. Every challenge you encounter from here on, see it as a precious opportunity to apply the principles you have learned at a deeper level to further temper your steadfastness and your knowing. And every success, however small, opens new horizons, new perceptions. The laws you have learned are not just empty theories. They are golden keys that can unlock countless doors leading you to even greater mysteries and revelations that await. Therefore, never view mastery as a final destination to be reached and then stopped at. Enjoy this unceasing journey of discovery and growth with all the joy and curiosity of a child. There is always more to learn, more beauty to behold, and new levels of mastery for you to reach. You have now taken long strides, moving beyond the realm of fragile hope and desires, fraught with uncertainty, to enter the domain of knowing and steadfast existence. Step forward with all the confidence of one who has remembered their true nature, that you are not separate from the boundless creative force of the universe, but that you are a unique expression, a sacred conduit of that very force. The universe measures your success not by the scale of what you manifest externally, but by your alignment with inner truth, by the sincerity in your every intention and action. Whether you choose to manifest grand visions that have widespread impact, or quiet miracles that warm your own life and the lives of those around you, the most important thing is to live and act from your inner truth and deep harmony with the universal laws you have perceived. And do you know your own transformation, the journey you have undertaken, and the person you are becoming have an invisible yet incredibly powerful inspirational effect on those around you? Although you cannot give someone your knowing, because each person must discover and experience their own truth for themselves, you can absolutely demonstrate what is possible when a human being lives in harmony with universal laws, when a soul dares to believe in its own power. Be a living lighthouse, a vivid testament, expressing the truth you have discovered through your own life, through the peace, joy, and abundance you radiate. One thing is certain, you will never be the same again. You have courageously stepped through an important threshold, an invisible bridge that has dissolved behind you, leaving no way back to old limitations and illusions. The beliefs that once imprisoned you in fear and lack have crumbled, revealing before you the infinite nature, the limitless potential of your true self. Take strong, steady steps into this new reality, into this new life. Embrace the new person you have become with all the strength, understanding, compassion, and boundless creativity, awaiting your full discovery and expression. Your journey has only truly begun, and I believe it will be a journey filled with light, love, and beautiful miracles. With all love and faith in you,